Hello, everybody. Hello. We're getting set up. You could join us for the setup. We don't mind. Mike, actually, give me your levels. Give me your. How are you doing?
I'm good.
All right. Mike is in the
Yeah.
right place. We're good. Okay, cool.
I got all my stuff where it is. I got my camera on. I did all the things you want me to do.
Did the things.
The things have been done.
Things have been done. There's just no denying it. Let's see if I can dial all that in. All right, whatever. Okay. I think we're good. All right. Well then, I have stream elements. I have the rundown. Got YouTube here. I've not tweeted. I'll do that now. Let's see.
Pretty good, Flying Donkey. Yeah, it might be the best one. No Starlight Cook Zero. One Starlight Cook Zero is enough for one lifetime, I think. It's certainly in my top three, probably.
Top three worst Cokes. What are we talking
I was
about?
I was back on Iron Maiden, actually.
Okay.
See, I like Summertime a lot, like Seventh Son a lot. I also like Brave New World a lot.
Okie doke. I think we are probably ready. Let's make sure the audio is working. That's probably an important step here. Next profile. No, it's not working, is it? Because it's going through, because everything got reset and I didn't do Nintendogs. All right, where's Nintendogs? Go through probably what? Game music. Properties.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start.
No, I just gotta make sure Mikey can hear it.
Hey, Tom.
Routing. Music for chat mic. Yes. Yes, no? Could you hear that, Mike?
No.
Okay.
No, I cannot.
What am I using on? Oh, I probably am just using the wrong thing on Discord. All right, let's check that out. Yeah, I am. There we go. Chat mic. So then we go.
Hey, you guys hear me?
You heard that, right?
Yes, I did hear that. That's true.
All right. And then I just got to do this. Everyone heard that? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, I think we're set up and ready to go.
Let's do it.
Okay, I will count us in, and then I will hit the recording button, and then you'll hear the music. Here we go. 5, 4, 3.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start cheering now! Yeah, let's get this over with. Yeah.
Woof woof. Hi, I'm Mike Minotti, and I am a Nintendog.
Woof woof, I'm Jeff Grubb, and I'm a Nintendog.
Really trying to get in on my woofing here. And
I
we
am.
are the last of the Nintendogs. Today, Nintendo earnings, which means more hardware and software numbers. Also, a Nintendo Indie World Direct is happening tomorrow. So let's get excited about that. We're also talking about the Nintendo 64 games that we most want on NSO. Jeff, how's it going?
It's going. I'm very tired.
Yeah.
It was a couple of late nights, and then last night I wanted to go to bed so bad. But it was like, and I was like starting to think about it. I'm like, I can't remember exactly what time it is in Tokyo for these Nintendo earnings. Maybe I'll just go to sleep and we'll get it in the morning. Maybe one of these other guys will get it. And then that's like midnight, and then the Sony numbers came in. I'm like, all right, well, I forgot. I guess we didn't know Sony was gonna happen tonight. I thought
Sony was the next day for some reason.
It's usually the day after Nintendo. It usually is.
Yeah.
So it's not our fault. But wait, we were there. We got it covered. And then I stayed up for Nintendo and did a couple of stories on Nintendo. So either way, I was up really late working.
Hey, I
and
was
so
up
I'm
later
very
than you
tired now.
technically working
Yes,
because it was
that's right.
yeah. But I would have gone to sleep, but I just didn't feel super good, so I was just up. But
Yeah,
here we are.
it was cool to just kind of like, it was me, you, and Dean just all up writing stories
We're
about
just
this
all
stuff. So
I know.
yeah.
All right, then. Well, let's get to it here, Jeff. First off, if you are watching us right now, thank you so much. Please hit that like button if you are watching. It really helps more people find the show. Also, you can now join us. You're going to be able to gift those subscriptions soon. It's becoming more and more like Twitch. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
If you do that, you will get access to those secret Patreon, secret Discord channels that people can use to send in questions. If you want to send in a question or respond to our community topic this week, which again is about Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online games that you want to see. That's hard to say. Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online games that you want to see.
I mean,
You can do
Nintendo's
that in
so
Super
well
Chat.
known for their great branding,
Right.
just great names all around. How did they mess this
They
one
had
up?
Virtual Console, and
They did.
It
That actually was great.
Nintendo Switch Online game, which is still just the name of the service.
They're like,
They
it's
just
too
thought-
good. People get hung up on the name being too good, and they don't buy games. So let's make it bad, and then they'll want to spend money on it. That's
Guess
their
so.
thinking.
I guess so. All right then, let's get to this. First thing here, Jeff, is Nintendo did reveal today that a Indie World presentation is happening tomorrow
Yeah.
at 10 a.m. Eastern. It is going to be about 20 minutes long. Jeff, I don't even want to say it. I think I'm going to actually just.
Song, baby! Woo!
Oh
Yeah!
my God.
Get on the Silk Song hype train,
No,
everybody!
no,
Here we go!
no,
Come
no,
on, ride that
no,
train!
shut up, Dave.
And ride it! Come on, ride that
Why
train!
would you
It's a
Dave again? Why would you
train!
call you Dave? Shut the fuck up, Jeff. It's not. No. In fact, I'm taking the opposite stance this time. It's definitely not going to be there. This way, it'll probably show up.
okay.
There'll be no Silk Song. The game's canceled. They're never. They found out that all of you think that it's a mid game, and they're like, well, why even bother? Who gives a shit? Yeah. So we're
So it's
just
my
canceling
fault.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just canceling. They're just all playing
They can't-
Steam World Dig 2 for fun instead. They've given up.
I don't
trying
blame
to make
them
a
for
living.
that. Do not blame them for that at all.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, Silk Song, who knows? You sure would think, but God, who knows anymore? What else though, Jeff, are we gonna see here?
Yeah, I
Do
mean,
you
everyone's
think?
going to sports story right away. I mean, at this point, I'm like, I'm with you. Like, for either of these games, I don't necessarily think they show up here. I mean, I suppose they could, but I also think that both those games are big enough to like end up in an E3 style direct that Nintendo might end up doing or something like that. So we've gotten a handful of these, especially we've gotten a handful of these as we've expected Silk Song, and for the most part they've come out and they've been at a certain level of like, here are a few indie games that some you're going to care about, some you won't, and that's going to be different for everybody. And then this last game that's a little bit bigger, and sometimes that's like it's Axiom Verge 2 or something like that. Like, it's at that level. And that,
Sure.
so I mean, at this point I'm kind of like, yeah, I hope there's a few games for me. It's not a big deal if there isn't. Indie directs are their own thing, and they don't have to sort of meet the threshold of the hype level I expect from like a Nintendo Direct.
How about Shredder's Revenge, Jeff? Some people think that might show up there. Some people are hoping for a shadow drop. Even. Do you
Well, that
think
would
that's
be
possible?
incredible, and kind of like, I don't. To me, that would be huge and almost too much to hope for.
Right.
But hey, if that happens, it's an automatic winner right there, because I'm definitely looking forward to that game. That would be fantastic. I'm gonna say that's probably not gonna happen though. I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, there's so many things here that like would be very exciting, and also like not incredibly unreasonable. The Shredder's Revenge thing, Sports Story, Silk Song. One of these has to happen, right? But maybe not. Maybe it's just gonna be 20 minutes of games we never heard before, and then at the end it'll be like one sequel to something kind of like with Axiom Verge 2. There's another Oxenfree 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Got announced that one time as the last thing. Something like that.
Yeah, the thing is, there's a lot of indie games, and more than ever, they want to like come to Switch first. So I think that there's a strong possibility that it could end up being sort of one of those. But at the same time, there are a lot of these bigger name indie games to choose from at this point. I mean, people are mentioning Neon White as well. I suppose that's a possibility. It's that first person card shooter game. That's the kind of thing that could just pop up here in soft launches or shadow drop as well. I don't know. We heard this was coming, but I don't know if we've heard any like games that have been identified as coming into this Nintendo Indie World Direct thing. So To me, that suggests that maybe we should be looking more towards stuff that we haven't heard of before, which is fine. A lot of times that stuff comes out, and at least 1 or 2 of those is very good. So that's my hope right now. Hey, good news is we don't have to wait long, right? Tomorrow morning we're gonna have all this stuff.
Yeah. How are we doing this, Jeff? It's pretty early. Are we gonna bother live streaming it, or what are we gonna
Let's just kind of get up and see how we're feeling.
See how we're feeling.
See how we're feeling. Yeah, I mean, it's because it would be what 8 a.m. for me. It'll be 10 a.m. for you.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I'll get up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be up because of the kids. So let me think if that's a Wednesday, so I can actually do that without much issue. So yeah, we will probably do it. I'll probably just put it in the schedule, and I'll probably schedule a live stream. So look out for that, everybody. We'll react to that, and by react it means you'll watch us work and actually write stories if you want. If you have any interest in that, feel free to show up.
All right, next thing here, Nintendo did release its latest earnings numbers here, Jeff. This was for their financial year ending March 2022, and also for that quarter. So basically, all these numbers kind of go up to March 31st. There were some interesting highlights here. So Switch sales are now at 107.6 million hardware units sold. It already kind of passed the Wii last time, and it's still, it's still trugging along there. We are probably getting a little bit of this slowdown period, and there are supply constraints, but still, it's doing pretty well, right?
Yeah, I mean, by all measures, I think it's doing really well for where it is in its life cycle. Overall, Nintendo's doing very healthy. They are selling a lot of Switches, and while they point to supply constraints and the chip shortage and stuff, I wonder if part of that is just them signifying to investors that, like, hey, maybe now is about the time we might consider a price drop, but demand is high enough that we won't do that, especially when components are probably going to remain relatively expensive because of their unavailability. So they think they're going to probably have, what they say, like 20 million Switches for this year or something like that. I think that's kind of a really conservative estimate. They're probably going to have quite a bit more than that. And if they could ship all of them, that'd be pretty impressive. That's going to put that console well on a pace to kind of hitting 130, 140 million consoles sold in the next 2 years. So that's impressive.
Then the big one's 155, which is like the estimate for PlayStation 2, which is still the best-selling console ever.
Right, and depending on how they do Switch 2, who knows how that actually works out.
Right.
It's probably possible, especially if they don't have like a Switch 2 Lite right away. I think if they leave it, and especially if the Pokemon games are cross-gen, if that's the sort of the path they take, I think this thing gets to 155 pretty easily, actually.
The president of Nintendo in the Q&A, he was asked or something if there was going to be a new Switch model this year, and he didn't say no. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. Now, we don't think this means Switch 2. We think that Switch OLED Lite is maybe something that's coming out this year, right?
Yeah, the Switch OLED. Yeah, I think that's I think that's more likely than anything else. I mean, I think I'd probably get one. I mean, I have plenty of Switches already, but I really like the Switch Lite form factor. I find it to be more comfortable because it is like physically lighter, which makes it easier to hold with just your fingers, and you don't feel like it's going to fall at the bottom, so you have to give it like extra support with your pinkies and stuff. So I find it very comfortable, and that OLED screen is absolutely gorgeous. So I would probably pick it up, and I think they know that there's a lot of people out there that would probably pay a slight premium over the Lite to get that. So yeah, I think that comes out this, we're getting those Pokemon games this like they said, late 2022. So I imagine they'll probably line that up with that.
All right, we also have a bunch of software numbers here. Let's just get to this, Jeff. Metroid Dread has lifetime sales of 2.9 million copies. Me and you were both pretty upset about this. I know I was at first.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I guess most people are maybe not so hung up on this 3 million arbitrary number that we had. It is such a tease to be so close to it.
Right there. Yeah.
Right. And it is enough to make it the best-selling Metroid game ever. So there was some kind of a Switch bump, obviously. I guess I still find it kind of depressing that a Metroid game could come out, be incredible, get amazing reviews, get Game of the Year nominations and all this stuff, and still seem to just be in that really low end in terms of like potential sales for Nintendo franchises, right? Like it is not. I know it's not a Mario or a Zelda, but it's not. It certainly isn't a Luigi's Mansion 3. I see you've asked everybody if they own Metroid Dread, so you can yell. Maybe there's 10,000 or 100,000 people in here who are going to say they didn't do it. If we just convince them, Jeff, we'll get there.
Yeah, let's see. It's starting out with 68% say yes. Man, I'm telling you, I think it's pretty tough for me to like imagine a person in our audience that owns a Switch that doesn't play Metroid Dread. I get pretty frustrated at that whole concept, and I think a lot of it comes down to people think it's too expensive for being a 2D game or something like that. Because I think there's battling factors here, right? You're right. The Switch bump, I expected to push it like further ahead than where it's at right now. I was expecting 4 to 5 million by now, kind of easily. So we're struggling to get the 3 million by now, and that's pretty depressing. I think that comes down to people being pretty hesitant to spend full price dollars on what they view now today as an old style of game in 2D gaming. That said, 2.9 million copies sold for a full priced 2D game is actually very good for sort of any brand, any sort of IP on any console. So looking at that in that light, it is doing very well, but it's still very frustrating to kind of see this game, seeing how good it is. Game of the Year potential in that discussion. Like not like just like, oh, like you and I put it on our top 10 list or pushed it up really high on our annual Game of the Year list or something like that, but it was like nominated at the Game Awards and stuff like that. So you kind of want to see if that like give it a little bit extra juice, but apparently not. Still, I'm not really all that upset, but I kind of wish more people would just take a chance on this because they would fall in love with it, I believe.
I guess the real question is, how does Nintendo feel about it? And they probably feel pretty good about it. Like it certainly seems like we're going to get more Metroid games. So we already know we're getting Metroid Prime 4, and we'll probably get another 2D Metroid also. This is certainly probably good enough for them to continue with that. I guess that's the question, Jeff, this 2D point. So what is going to happen with that Metroid Prime game? If that comes out and it gets like equal praise and that doesn't maybe reach 5 million, maybe that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. But again, like then it'll be like, well, yeah, but it reached 3.5 million and now it's the best-selling Metroid game. And do I just keep looking for silver linings till the end of time? I don't know.
Yeah, and really a lot of this does come down to Japan. I was looking at Nintendo's software split, and they do a bunch of like key numbers in their earnings report. And one of the things is like split between domestic sales and foreign sales. And domestic sales for Nintendo is obviously in Japan, and they sell about 80% outside of Japan, and 20% of their sales come in Japan. For this game, it was like less than 10% of its sales came from Japan. So, that would have been enough right there. If they would have got like to that normal 20%, that would have pushed it over 3 million. Still, I think it's the best selling.
It's the Japanese fault.
Yeah, that's what I've always said. I've always said this. To be fair, this game I think is one of the best-selling Metroid games in Japan since the original Metroid. But still, I just like, okay, that game still doesn't quite have the appeal there, and it's not necessarily making it up everywhere else. But you're right. How does Nintendo feel about this? I bet they feel pretty good. This is probably right in line with what they expected, and I do hope we get another 2D Metroid in addition to Metroid Prime 4.
I think we will.
Mike. Can we take a quick break? Because I smell poop right here.
Nice.
And this time it's not me.
All right, I'm excited for an update about it. Go for it.
All right, be right back.
I'm gonna deal with that.
Okay, let's go get you.
Any Bravely Default fans there? Anybody get that one? Yeah. Can I play the piano? Not particularly well. I was picking it up a little bit, then I got distracted by the tin whistle, so now I've lost a lot of that skill. That's a thing from what? Coco. That's a little Coco there. Yeah, I think Mercury Steam will make the next 2D Metroid. Absolutely. That Metroid guy, I forget his name, he seems to like working with them. They clearly did a good job with Dread. Yes, they will. no way you're paying $6 for a 2D game. Oh, come on. They're so much better than a lot of 3D games. So that's weird because I remember, gosh, in the Wii era, they were all 2D games still, basically. The best-selling Wii, New Super Mario Brothers sold better than Mario Galaxy, right? Yeah, that's where we're kind of back on there. How would I rate Jeff's match against Imran Khan? Kind of a boring squash match, actually. Trying to get Jeff over as the monster heel, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I guess I understand what they're doing storyline wise because they got set up with that rematch with Andy Cortez. But yeah, that match itself was all it was a little comfortable to watch. I guess maybe -2 stars. Hey Rachel, is Rachel here? Did I miss her? Yeah, there she is. Hi guy, hi Rachel. I'm such a super Metroid fan. Play some Lower Norfair. I don't know can I do the best Metroid songs are the jingles, like the da 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 da. Hmm. No, that's not right. That's not the right starting note. I don't know if this is the right key. Oh, there it is. I see. Look, I think that's impressive. By the way, just figured that out. Not saying that I need praise or validation, but just figured that one out for you guys real quick. You're welcome. You're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome, welcome. Gosh, I drank all that Coke Zero because my tummy's a little, not upset, but it feels a little off kilter. And now I'm kind of gassy, which is a hard thing to be when you have to talk a lot for a podcast. Play one of the songs from Ocarina of Time. I think I had store. One second. I got Let's see. Maybe this one, huh? Dun, 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 dun. I want no. Here we go. Whoop. Let's try that again. All right, there you go. A little Song of Storms for you. I'm sorry for all the rain. I am now raining down on you. That's probably why it's called it. The Swenson's open yet? Not yet. It's coming up pretty fast though. I'm pretty excited. Although once it opens, you need to give it a couple of weeks because it's probably gonna be nuts there for a hot second. So. Okay. Oh, you had me there, Sandwich. I was like, was there a Tron reference in Doctor Strange? Should I miss it? Because I would have been sad if I did. Thoughts on Ezekiel, Elias's younger brother? I don't think that is his younger brother. I think that's just Elias, and I think you're all fools.
I'm back.
Oh, hi.
Hello. Let me unpause. I believe we're moving on to the next story, so I'll let you do that. All right.
Did you make sure that she knew that was a bad and shameful thing she did, and that she should be disgusted by her body?
She knows. Oh, don't worry. Good. Yes, I've imported some of your Catholic guilt. Don't worry.
Good.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
All right, Jeff, we got some other sales numbers here. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have combined sold 14.65 million copies. Jeff, this is astounding because, Pokemon games always sell well, even the remakes. It felt like these remakes were really low-key. It seemed like even some of the Pokemon fans were super happy with them. Still sold just insanely well.
Yeah, it's this is a series that it seems to not matter how many games they're putting out, each one is going to sell a certain mega threshold. Like they're just gonna just demolish everything else in their path, and it doesn't really matter. People showed, and you're right, and it didn't matter if this one had like that lukewarm reception or anything like that. There's just a built-in audience that buys every single one of these, and that built-in audience is just so much bigger than everyone else's built-in audience.
And then Arceus, which came out a little bit later than those remakes, that has already sold 12.64 million units. So yeah, just two new Pokemon games already selling well over 10 million copies, and
Yep.
they have two new ones coming out at the end of this year. So that franchise is just incredibly dominant now, to a point that I know we should be used to it, but even still, it's pretty nuts. One interesting thing here, Jeff, it's like new Pokemon Snap has only lifetime sold 2.4 million units. Pocket Tournament, also not a giant seller. Do you think Pokemon Company, now that they kind of have this other path of just doing other mainline games with Arceus, is going to focus more on that, or maybe even finding new avenues for like adjacent series as opposed to doing these spin-offs like Pocket Tournament or new Pokemon Snap?
Probably not, because well, maybe not Pokken Tournament, but like something like new Pokemon Snap, I don't look at that and get the impression that they spent a lot of money making that game.
Probably not.
I think it's the kind of thing where if you could tell another developer, hey, we spent this much money making this game and we sold 2.4 million copies, most other developers and publishers would be like, oh my God, I want that for me so bad. So I think they will continue to have those, as well as these other paths of like the main games and this offshoot Arceus or Legends, whatever they're going to call it. And then, yeah, they'll just keep also trying a bunch of other experiments. And if they sell, like, I mean, Turbo Sean in chat, who's I'm pretty sure he's a huge Pokemon fan. I think he's like, some bad Pokemon games have sold millions of copies. If you could keep putting out bad games and they still sell millions of copies, what happens when you kind of like stumble on a good one that's also cheap to make like that and it sells 10 million copies? That's a massive return on investment. So I think they're going to keep trying it.
Turbo Sean also says in the chat that it's pronounced Pokey and Tournament, and I just refuse, Jeff. I just won't.
Pokken? Pokken.
No, it's
Pokken.
It's Pokken Tournament, and I will. Yeah, look, no one's going to bring up that game again for another 5 years, at least on this show. So we don't have to worry about it.
I feel like you just cursed us so bad with that, right? You just did something bad to us by saying that.
Kirby in the Forgotten Land, which is really, aside from Switch Sports, their most recent release, has sold 2.1 million copies in its first 2 weeks. Jeff, that is pretty darned good. It's outpacing Star Allies, and Star Allies became the best-selling Kirby game outside of the original Kirby's Dream Land on Game Boy, which sold about 5 million copies. So with some legs, Kirby in the Forgotten Land has a pretty good shot at becoming the best-selling Kirby game ever, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is I think it helped that it was 3D, right? It's a big new 3D Kirby game, and people immediately showed up for it. The marketing was fun and cheerful, and I think it was sort of a good antidote to many of the other games that were coming out around that time that were also successful, like Dying Light 2 and Elden Ring, obviously. And it's like, oh yes, it's like a good palate cleanser, and it absolutely was that. And yeah, it got the Switch bump, right? It's the Switch bump for Kirby now. And it's,
even Star Allies had a Switch bump, and that game wasn't very good.
Right, exactly.
Which is again another reation why I thought Metro was going to get such a big bump. Like even Star Allies sold much better than it deserved. Not to go back to that, but yes, more so than the Switch bump, and it still got that. There was, I think, that 3D transition bump that finally happened. And again, I wonder if we're going to see some more of that. I wonder if maybe Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Wario, some of these franchises that either never have had a 3D platformer or haven't in a very long time are going to be going in that direction again.
Yeah, and you definitely get the sense that Nintendo has found a formula here with Kirby that is 3D and yet still scaled back enough that it feels in line with their desires to not spend a lot of money on these games. That's not to say it's not polished or...
But it clearly was a more modest effort than a 3D Mario game. Sure.
Exactly, yes. Or like the 3D platformers you get from a lot of other companies that just sort of like don't know where to scale it back. Or because it's even though we've had it for a decade and a half now or whatever, 2 decades of 3D gaming, people still start of figuring out exactly what you need to make a good one of these. And Kirby is just another path where they're like, okay, we'll provide 3D fun little spaces, but the camera's going to be pulled back and you're going to see everything in front of you and you don't have to control the camera. and that enables us to like make kind of condensed little fun zones they look busy, but they're actually not that like a broad or anything. You're not going to go get lost in them or anything like that, and that probably enables them to keep the cost down. And if they could apply this to other mascots, I think it could really work.
So Kirby's happy. They also kind of had some release dates for the rest of the year here. Bayonetta 3 was still listed for 2022. Nothing more specific than that. I know some people are worried about this one getting delayed. Does this calm those fears, Jeff, or is this them just sticking to what they said before?
Yeah, I think this is probably like if they were for sure going to delay it, they probably would have announced it before this. But I don't think this means that people who were worried about a delay are now suddenly like, oh, well, now for sure it's 2022.
Sure.
They absolutely could still delay it. It's just right now they're not positive, which I suppose you could take as a good sign. But I wouldn't go cash it in the bank or anything like that. This is a situation where they have a desire to get this game out this year. It's everyone's understanding that's what needs to happen. Whether or not that's the reality is probably still very uncertain, though.
Let's talk about the rest. These are kind of the big games coming out for the rest of the year here, so it gives us an idea of what's coming. What are you giggling about?
Rachel in chat. Yeah. Some people, Mike. That's very good.
Well, you said kind of a mean thing about Kirby just there, so I'm not upset about throwing some shade at you. So let's get to the schedule here. So April 29th, we had or Nintendo Switch Sports come out. Their next big game is Mario Strikers Battle League on June 10th. They released the opening movie. I actually didn't even watch it. Like, I don't want to. I want to see that when I boot up the game for the first time.
Yeah, you want to stay pure. I understand. Yeah.
And then I can be disappointed that Daisy's not in it then. June 24th, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Houses. And then June 30th is Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Pretty big June for them. Penny's upset about something.
Oh, Penny. I think they have like 2 a month for like June, and what was the other one? I think they have 2 in May, right? Like they have a couple of games where it's like
I thought May. I think this is the quiet month. Actually, I think May is
maybe May's the quiet month.
This is when you catch up.
June, do they have multiple in July?
So July is Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Okay.
July 29th, and then shortly after that, just like a week and a half after that is Splatoon 3 on September 9th. So kind of back there, and then we have
you skipped a month. You skipped a month. There's August. August exists.
Yeah, I'm Jeff. I'm just reading I'm reading this thing here. I'm reading the games they have listed here. They don't have anything listed for August.
Okay, you thought you said a week and a half later. My bad. All right.
No, I did say that. That's
okay.
Why I yelled at me.
All right. Yes.
I
cool.
did just forget about
Sometimes
August.
I know what I'm talking about when I yell at you. All right,
Look, you said so many wrong things before that.
I don't blame you. That's why I said sometimes.
You were like, oh, they got a big month coming in May. We've been talking for months about how nothing's happening in May.
I was like trying to like place this because I'm like I wrote it last night real late, and I'm like another month had 2 things. I thought there's
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's live alive or live alive.
Oh, live alive. Yeah, this is I think these are just the Nintendo stuff. Well, they had Monster Hunter on there. So
they're publishing Live Alive in the United States. It was on their thing. They
don't want to be fools. They don't want to miss out.
Yes, of course.
They also want to make sure that we all know that they published a Live Alive remake before they brought Mother 3 over to the US. And then Pokemon Scarlet, Pokemon Violet are also coming out late this year. And if Bayonetta 3 comes out, it will be late this year. So that's the schedule for the most part there. So
Mike, it's insane what you just said, though, isn't it? Like, hey, Nintendo, port Mother 3 and to bring it to America. And no. And Square Enix is like, hey, we have this Live Alive. Do you want to put that out in America? Yes, we do. Yes, please. Please let us publish that.
We got
a weird company.
We got a super chat about this, and we'll get there. But like in Reggie's book, right? He said like, it wasn't like for anything other than business that we didn't bring Mother 3 over. But it okay, so back when you had to like, make cartridges and ship it and do all this stuff and spend this big advertising campaign, all they would have to do now, Jeff, is just translate the game and then release it digitally on the Switch. How could it possibly not make back that amount of investment, which would not be, they wouldn't need any advertising outside of announcing it at a Nintendo Direct and then just releasing it that day. That would be all the advertising they need from them anyways. Everyone else will take care of the rest. I don't know. It's why I keep thinking it has to happen soon, But either there's somebody has some weird hang up about the game, and even Reggie's not aware of it really, or it's just one of those things again where they want to keep it in their side pocket for who knows what.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Speaking of Reggie, another fun little tidbit that came out of his book was apparently Nintendo of America was forced to launch the Game Boy Micro against Reggie's will. Now, this was before he was actually president of Nintendo of America, so he was like executive vice president of sales or something.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And he was like the last of like the three sort of like top people to find out about the micro, and he is like, "Oh, if I knew about this earlier, I would have just told him don't. This is a bad idea. The screen is smaller when the trend is bigger screens. These buttons are too small for these big, beefy American Pizza Hut Bigfoot hands.
We eat the Bigfoot pizza here. We need the big boy Game Boys."
And apparently it never did that well. Jeff, what did you think about the Game Boy Micro?
I never got one.
Me neither. I thought it was too small.
It was too small. Yeah, I'm like, that's cute. I don't need that. It's kind of exactly my thought process, and I didn't think much more about it until I think I saw someone wearing it as a necklace at E3 one year, and I'm like, oh, okay. But that was like years and years and years later. Yeah.
Is that like when Logan Paul came out to WrestleMania with that Pokemon card wrapped around his chain?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just like that, Mike. Yes.
Yeah, if they make me as a wrestler for that kind of funny league, maybe they can make it so I have a game.com strapped around my neck. That's probably not you probably can't render 3D objects.
The community creators for that game, especially the ones that Kind of Funny's working with, are very talented. I bet they can figure something out.
It tickled my fancy when you came out with that belt and it had the Game S logo or Grubstacks logo, but also had the last of the Nintendogs logo. It was like, oh, look, that thing I made in Photoshop.
Yeah, I didn't even say anything about the belt, and the guy that creates it's just like, what do you think of this? I'm like, I love it. And then I'm like, I didn't know what was going to happen with it. Apparently, he just put it on me, and Greg's the character Greg plays on the show gets really mad about it because it's not a sanctioned belt in their league or anything like that. So
not a sanctioned. Yeah, I heard that. That was pretty good. Not a sanctioned. It's like the FTW belt in AEW. Yeah, although
this belt is very popular in Japan and Mexico and underground leagues around the world. So people know.
Banana Squad. I always figured my wrestling persona would have something to do with the Illuminati, just because
Well, that's very good.
It has my name in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Illuminati they just showed up in that new Marvel movie there too. So
I've not seen it yet, but I'm not worried about spoilers. But I've not seen it yet. But what
I was going to spoil anything.
I did intend to ask you. I've heard that like kids will be scarred by this movie. You're not a big horror movie fan, and this is something where you're like, that can't be real. Was it spooky? How'd you feel about the movie?
No, I didn't think it was spooky. I mean, it had like that vibe of like.
Sure.
We talk about this a lot, right? Like Luigi's Mansion 3 versus. Watching Halloween, I guess. Even though some stuff happening screen was actually gorier than that, like that MCU veneer kept it from ever actually feeling scary.
Right, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, cool.
So yeah, I was never upset or anything like that. So, but yeah, it wasn't a concern. I didn't think it really would be either.
Right.
I still wouldn't maybe take kids under 10 to go see it, I suppose. But hey, there's a lot of movies like that. There was nothing in it that was more upsetting than the bizarre scene from that random woman getting tortured by dinosaurs for 2 minutes before getting eaten alive from Jurassic World. Nothing was nearly as bad as that.
Yep.
All right. So that actually does it for the news here, Jeff. Why don't we get into some of these Discord questions? You want to end this poll, though, first? It looks like we're stuck here at about 60% of people listening live on YouTube say that they own Metroid Dread.
That is,
it's most of them.
I suppose it is the majority, but I also find it to be unacceptable. We clearly are not doing our job as people who recommend you games that we think is worth your money. So go work more hours and go buy Metroid Dread right now. Second job time. Did you already get into trouble once when Metroid Dread? Was there some game came out and said, I don't know why you would own a Switch and not get this game, and everyone got mad at you? No,
that was Ratchet and Clank, PlayStation 5.
No, it wasn't Ratchet and Clank, because no one would have gotten mad at me about Ratchet and Clank. It was
Horizon.
Horizon Forbidden West, yes, because people were like, I don't feel that way about that game, and I'm like, okay, I'm sorry you don't feel. That's not exactly what I meant. When I say something like that, it's not legally binding. I'm sorry.
You don't have to. You
don't have to have these feelings that I'm saying that I'm sort of projecting out there for the world. You don't actually have to adopt them as your own. Whatever.
let's get to these questions, and then after this, we can read some of these super chats. And again, you can send in super chats. We will read them live.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now, so we'll get to those next.
Yes. All right. So first one here is from Dr. Turbo Sus. If when Nintendo remakes the Legend of Zelda Oracle games, hopefully in the Link's Awakening style, do you think it'll be a double pack, or will they try to sell us each for full price? If they did it, Jeff, I think it would come as one package. I don't think they would. I don't think they could get away with selling them separately unless it was digital. Now, I think they'll sell them separately if it's no. There's no way they'd sell it separately because either it would just show up on Nintendo Switch Online if they ever bring those games there, or if they otherwise they're not going to sell it separately. To sell it separately, then it's going to be a remake. I don't think they're going to remake them. I think that these just show up in Nintendo Switch Online.
Yes, that's. I mean, but if they do remake them in the style of Link's Awakening, what do you think they would do? I think they probably
would bundle them.
I think they would still bundle them. I think it's probably right, but they're different enough that it's they would bundle them. I think you're right, actually.
They would bundle them, and it would be a pretty good bundle. I'd be very excited about that. I don't know if they're going to do it. Link's Awakening sold well. I think it sold better than like Skyward Sword HD did, at least.
Yeah. It's like right in that range. I think it's I think you're probably right. It probably just got like a little bit better than that.
So because Skyward Sword is actually on the list, and it was like 2.3 million sold.
Okay, well then yes, because Link's Awakening is at like 5-6 million or something like that.
Oh, there you go. It was 3.9 actually for Skyward Sword HD. Yeah. So yeah, 3.9 million. So
yeah, I would say like 2.4 is actually pretty low for that game. So
yeah, well, I remember looking at it thinking it was low-ish for a Zelda game, but it is Skyward Sword, not exactly everybody's favorite one. Velocity Prime 1 says, by the time you read this, I'll be in sunny Spain, which just so happens to be the setting of the new Pokemon games. So if you had to pick a specific locale for Gen 10 of Pokemon, where would it be? Ohio. Obviously, more games should be set in Ohio.
In sunny Appalachian, Ohio.
Yeah. That's a good question. So they've done a bunch of places in Japan. They've done England, Spain, France, and Hawaii as other ones, as far as I can recall. So those are what we have already. It'd be nice to see them once again branch out from Europe and Japan.
They should just do like an open world, like Grand Theft Auto style one that's set in an equivalent to New York, New Jersey. I actually like.
There was a New York one. There was Black and White. I think was New Yorky. Now that I remember, that's right. One of them was New York.
I almost barely wanted to go out into the field. I wanted to be almost like the city from the movie. So from the Detective Pikachu or whatever, and have it all take place in there. But I don't know. Probably wouldn't work.
They should do it in Canada just for the funsies of it. There should be a Toronto one.
There's definitely like at least one Canadian, like explicitly Canadian Pokemon, right?
What do you mean?
Like a living maple leaf or something like that?
Oh, really?
Maybe like
a
bison or something has a Canadian, or maybe it's a beaver or something.
Are you saying Bidoof is Canadian?
Well, I'm just here. I'm gonna Canadian
Pokemon.
Let's see what happens.
I'm excited to see what comes up.
Bidoof was the first thing that came up.
I don't know how the Canadians feel about that.
Yeah, that's their problem.
Yeah, somebody's. Oh god, Nick was in Las Vegas, and I don't know if that was a joke or not, but I think that actually would be pretty sweet. I would love that vibe.
Yeah.
Plenty games in Las Vegas is always kind of fun, actually. I mean, there's already casinos, there's a casino in the first Pokemon game. What the heck? Winnie says, buy one, rent one, put one in the Library of Congress. That's interesting. That's even better than the other two. There's no kill here, right?
No.
Street Fighter the movie, Mortal Kombat, Annihilation, or Double Dragon.
Oh, man.
That's interesting.
Okay. I think you put Street Fighter the movie in the Library of Congress because of Raul Julia. And because of how high on cocaine Jean-Claude Van Damme was, you want to preserve that for future generations. I suppose I'm going to rent Mortal Kombat Annihilation to make fun of with my friends, because that's what we did when we saw it in the theater.
Yes.
And then what was the other movie? Oh, Double Dragon. I'll buy Double Dragon. Absolutely. I'll just buy Double Dragon.
Well, Mortal Kombat Annihilation and Double Dragon were movies I used to rent. Well, I rented Annihilation once because I rented all of those video game movies. and it was really bad. But it was so bad it was kind of enjoyable to watch.
Oh yeah, we had a very good time with that. Yeah,
Double Dragon does have that vibe, like this is like kind of like cheesy and whatnot, but it actually is to the point where it's a good, fun movie. And I did end up buying that copy from the video rental store when they closed. So
you've already done this. You've already lived this entire thing. All right, now you just got to go sneak a copy of Street Fighter into the Library of Congress.
Yeah. Well, and I would, because like I respect that movie maybe more than I like it.
Right.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is incredible. Just like how many characters they have to kill off right away, how much they try to jam pack in there, how it's mostly just bad fight scenes. There's like there's like claymation finale stuff back when that stuff was definitely not in style anymore. So it's pretty incredible.
I was really hoping it was on Prime Video so we could do a stream of it, but it's not. You got to buy it.
Yeah. One Up versus CPU asks, is level 1-2 in Super Mario Brothers a sewer? This is a very interesting question, Jeff. I've never actually thought about it, and I'm trying to like look at my heart and figure this out now.
I think so, right? I mean, you're going down a
going
drain,
down a
pipe to an underground. Yeah, it's a sewer, right? Yeah.
I guess it's a sewer.
Huh.
It's weird that we see no sewage, I suppose, but there's pits. It must be down lower.
Right, exactly. That it's runoff. Like this is just like the access zone where like workers would actually go down and like work in this area. But there's still vermin. Yeah, this is it's a sewer.
Running Riots asks, why does Square refuse to make HD 2D versions of Final Fantasy? Surely Final Fantasy 4 and 6 would dwarf the sales of Octopath, Triangle, and Live Alive. Live Alive. I'm always going to say Live Alive. Tactics or Tactics Advance would also probably do very well. It's just kind of baffling. Yeah, I don't know. Like this most recent round, it seems like the decision to do these pixel remasters maybe happened before they were really confident in HD 2D. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like they always are slightly cheap with those first 6 Final Fantasy games ever since they finished like the Game Boy Advance and PSP remakes and the 3D remake of 4 for 3DS, or just DS actually.
I wonder if it's just they think it'd be like it's either options. From their perspective, I wonder if they believe their options are either be cheap with them or spend a lot more money than they want to spend, and there's no in between, because you can't sort of half-ass these things because people hold them in such high regard.
But it feels like they feel half-assed to me.
They absolutely still do, right? But I wonder if in their
quarter-assed.
Yes, exactly.
But I think the answer is just they make weird decisions over at Square Enix. Casual says, Dear Nintendogs, I'm currently playing Ultimate NES Remix on my crime-riddled 3DS and liking the bite-sized romp. Do you think Nintendo might return to this format with a new system? The SNES or Game Boy Advance seem like perfect candidates. Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be so cool if they just like really skipped ahead and did this with GameCube games. That would just be so much fun and so nostalgic for a very different audience that would be into this. But I don't know. I feel like they probably have left the Ultimate NES remix in that whole concept behind, right?
Yeah, I think so. It was a good idea, but it never fully formulated into something that everyone could access and love immediately. So, but I think you're probably right. If they were going to return to it, you go to a much more modern time frame. That would work really well.
Turbo Madden says, looking at May, Nintendo has absolutely nothing this month. You hear that, Jeff? Nothing this month.
Jesus.
Do you think there's a chance Nintendo will shadow drop some surprise game in May, like a free 99 Battle Royale? Or are they letting the late April release Nintendo Switch Sports take care of the May sales? A little bit of that. We might get a shadow drop of some kind of.
We do get a shadow drop tomorrow, right? I think we almost certainly get a shadow drop tomorrow.
We will, but what is it going to be?
Sure.
Is it going to be River City Girls 2 and make me the happiest boy in the world? I hope so. I mean, what games could they shadow drop that would actually be significant to like their revenues for the month?
Sure.
There aren't too many. There's only one I can really think of, and I'm afraid to even say its name.
Yeah, I mean, you're not entirely wrong. There's probably a few things we're not thinking of, things that could be really surprising that maybe could happen, but I don't know. I feel like that will probably they probably didn't have anything for this month, and that's okay because they're going to have this indie direct and they'll shadow drop something, and then they can make up the revenue later this quarter next month because they're going to have 2 games next month. So yeah.
Octa says, "Yo, dogs, after catching Jeff's Star Wars synergistic shill stream and remembering the actually pretty good Game Boy Advance slash DS Episode 3 Brawler,
Yeah.
I got to wondering, what's the most obscure Star Wars game you've enjoyed slash laughed at? I'm probably one of the few people that enjoyed and remembers the 1999 Pit Droids puzzle game, similar to stuff like Opus Magnum or Big Pharma. Get droids to the end goal, but making sure they survive with the correct build and automation puzzle game." Jeff, I'm glad you played that Episode 3 game. I had that on DS like when it came out, and I was shocked how good it was. I had a lot of
It's
fun with it.
really, I mean, it holds up in terms of its visual style, but like it looks better than most other DS games at that time because it's sticking with the 2D art style. But it's the kind of thing they could probably almost put out today and just not do much to it, and it would be fine as a indie download for like 15, 20 bucks. And it was fun. It feels great. It's like good to play. That was one of those Ubisoft Star Wars games, and they started that with that Game Boy Advance one, Star Wars Apprentice of the Force or something like that. And
Right.
and it just actually it's the whole Star Wars trilogy, and like you go through A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and it has that rotoscoping animation, and like it looks striking. It's just a super boring game because you're going through familiar areas over and over again, and finding key cards and moving ahead slowly. With that Revenge of the Sith game, though, they completely figured out everything they needed to do, and sort of dropped the rotoscoping. But you can still tell it's a beat 'em up, but they still had that like silky smooth animation, and it was really well done.
Good. Yeah, it's like maybe a bit of a simple game, but for Game Boy Advance and DS, that works just fine. The DS version also had like a rudimentary like 3D ship battling mode that you could like play multiplayer with. And it was fun. It wasn't anything too extensive, but it was good. I mean, that one is probably my answer for this. Octo, you're asking about the slightly more obscure Star Wars games that people enjoy. That's usually the one I go to, is that Episode 3 game for the Nintendo portables. Aside from that, I'm not sure there's like a big Star Wars game I love that's super obscure. Like I like Pod Racer a lot. Again, not obscure at all. I like that Episode 1 game that came out for PC and PlayStation 1. That is very much of its time, right? Like it's very much in that Tomb Raider era.
Yeah.
And like the one section of it just turns into a 3D LucasArts adventure game when you're.
It looks really good on PlayStation 2. The PlayStation graphics for that Episode 1 game are actually very I don't know. They bring up a lot of nostalgia for me of the graphics of that time, so I really like that. I don't know. I like Battle for Naboo. Like I feel like there's no more obscure Star Wars games because people go back and mine this stuff so much. I feel like those Game Boy Advance DS ones, maybe like the Ubisoft Star Wars games, are not ones people talk about a lot. But I just played them, and so that it doesn't feel like it's that obscure anymore.
His Pit Droids answer was pretty good. We could pretend that we like Bombad Racing. I suppose,
right, exactly, yes. Not Star Wars. Just real quick, a licensed obscure game that I will play and actually laugh at. The Bill and Ted's game for NES. I didn't know about this game, and then my wife started playing it. Like we were hanging out doing a Colorado night before we had kids, and she would play it on like our emulator or whatever. And she would like be just hopping around with these characters and making them jump up in places and collect stuff. And I still do not understand what was happening in that game, how she was playing it, how she was advancing. And I watched her play it for several hours on multiple nights. That game is completely obtuse to me. It's way worse than Kingdom Hearts. So,
wow.
So there you go.
That's damning stuff right there.
Way worse.
Anderson64 says, "I'm sure this has been asked before, but why hasn't Nintendo seen the success of things like Fortnite, Genshin's, and others and haven't done a free-to-play game yet? I'm guessing it's because people keep buying $60 games, but wanted your thoughts." I mean, they don't need to make their own, right, Jeff? They're getting Fortnite and Genshin money already.
Yeah. Well, are they getting Genshin? Is Genshin on Switch yet? I think it's supposed to come to Switch.
Is it not?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Maybe it's not. Okay, well, they're getting Fortnite money anyways. They're getting Apex Legends. But yeah, Fortnite money is the big one they're getting. Maybe I'm giving too much credit. Maybe they know that really isn't like what they succeed at. I mean, look, they're also just weird with trends in general anyways, right?
Right. They're like, we're going to do it the Nintendo way, which how do you do that the Nintendo way?
Mm-hmm. I mean, gosh, even when they went to mobile at first, like, we're going to make premium games for mobile. We're not going to even make free-to-play games for mobile. I still think that it is actually a bit of a corporate culture there that they don't like free-to-play games, that they consider it even beneath them a little bit. And that, maybe someday that'll change. But I don't know. I almost don't like thinking about it too much because I'm pretty happy with it the way it is now.
Agreed.
Ezipsis says, why can't Nintendo just release all Nintendo DS games onto the eShop for purchase before it closes next year? Both the DS and 3DS will have a library of games locked to their system without any way for someone to go back and acquire them to play without spending a ton of money on what will no doubt be a fake cartridge online. They will never be added to Switch Online. Even if they were, they would need serious modifications to make them playable. Do you think Nintendo will just let these games die, or will they perhaps release a DS Classic in 10 years? Should I just buy an R4 card now and move on? Well, they can't just put why can't Nintendo just release all Nintendo DS games onto the eShop for purchase before it closes next year? Okay, so like even physical
Right.
stuff.
So there's a couple of reasons why they can't do that, and they all come down to they did not go through the legal process of being able to move these games from one platform to another. Like that would require new contracts and new agreements, and they would have to do that one by one with every single game that is available on the eShop and stuff like that. They could do it with their own first party games. They could do that, but that I think a lot of these games would require a little bit of attention to move from the DS and 3DS to the Switch. And then also they're focused on other stuff. They don't invest in their stuff in that way. They are like, hey, we have this one plan for our old games, and we're gonna do that. Just the answer is, you said the answer. Just go get an R4 card. Go get an R4 card right now. The DS and DSi are still pretty affordable right now. That's going to change eventually, so I would just act now, go get an R4, and do it that way.
You talked about DS Classic. Do you think Nintendo will ever make something like some kind of a quote-unquote new handheld that just has access to like all their Game Boy and DS games, 3DS, and everything like that? Or you think that's just not a market they are interested in right now?
They're just gonna keep doing this.
They're gonna keep doing that. Yeah.
I'm holding up a Game & Watch for Zelda Game & Watch, everybody. That's that they're gonna keep doing those. They're not gonna go much. They will slowly creep towards something closer and closer to what you're talking about. But they're having good success with this stuff, and this is the kind of thing where it's like they want it to be treated as a temporary gift that's on shelves for only a certain amount of time, and then it's off, and then they can move on to the next one, and it stands separate from what they're doing on Switch. Like, this is very different from what the Switch is like. So yeah, I think that's going to be the plan for now.
Maybe we'll get an analog DS at some point.
I hope. That'd be great.
Hoff says, hey, dogs, you finally snapped and decided to get off the Nintendo naughty list. You plan a heist of Nintendo headquarters to wipe your names with Jeff disguised as Wario and Mike as Toad. Everything is planned except the Nintendo Switch game you will use to distract the guard for 40 minutes. Which do you choose?
All right, so what are we choosing? We're choosing something to distract the guard? What?
You gotta distract a guard for 40 minutes. So what game would most captivate a person for exactly 40 minutes?
Okay, because they could play online. So Mario Party Superstars, that you could set it to 30 turns. They're definitely going to be occupied for that long. And while that game is like, I'm not saying, this is the funnest game in the world, but it is the game that once you start playing, you kind of can't stop because you just got to see what's going to happen next with the damn RNG. You can't pull yourself away from it. So yeah, that's definitely my answer.
Bench JC says, hey dogs, I finally finished Final Fantasy Origin. That's a game. It took me 13 hours to beat, but felt like over 100 hours. Is there any game like that for y'all? Oh, gosh, I'm trying to think, Jeff. Like, what's a game that was more like that 10 to 20 hour range and just felt like it was the longest video game of all time? I'm sure I've had those experiences.
I've definitely had those too, but I'm terrible at recalling information from my brain like this. I'm gonna glance at my Steam library and see if anything sticks out to me. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll try to think about that a little bit more because it's a good point. I think Origins did take me about that long to beat, also though. So we're both equally good. Beef Hammer says, now that Jeff has 100% confirmed Titanfall 3 is coming, and it is different than Apex Legends, will it come out for the Switch or Switch 2?
Aha,
Switch
very
3?
funny. Yeah, it's coming for the Switch
exclusive?
3. Yeah, Switch 3 exclusive. There you go.
Turbo Sean says, follow-up question. Exactly which secret German brothels are selling Titanfall 3, and do they also have the uncensored copies of Tokyo Mirage Sessions that include vagina bones? Oh, that's the game we should give the guard. Oh, but we have to give the Japanese original.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, but the Switch version even included the censoring, so never mind, it won't work. He won't be distracted if there aren't any vagina bones.
How can you possibly be engrossed in that game without the vagina bones?
Exactly.
Balan Wonderworld
was
a good, what? Let me look at here. Let me look at my timer. Okay, well, that's wrong. 71 hours. I definitely did not play that game for 71 hours. But it felt like 71 hours. It definitely felt that long, but it was probably closer to like 15, 16.
Tink says, "What's the scariest non-horror game of all time? I still get freaked out a little when I think of playing Echo the Dolphin in the dark years ago. The ocean plus aliens equals nightmare fuel. Yeah, that game it has like a creepy edge to it, which I've always
Yeah.
enjoyed about that.
Yeah,
Uh,
Inscription gets me. That game from last year was pretty, had some spooky stuff in it. I don't know, I'm trying to like think of non-horror. I've definitely been scared by a lot of non-horror games. The eel in Mario 64, very scary.
is Half-Life a horror game? Because the
No.
head crabs you used to do jump scares and it would terrify me in
Yes.
Half-Life 1.
Yes, Half-Life, that VR Half-Life game, once you get to the part where you're like going through the living sewer of flesh, I'm like, well, I can't play this anymore. This is too scary for me. So
Pablo Costas, hello doggies. GDC and PAX East have come and gone, yet we didn't get an Indie World presentation as previous years. What's going on? Never mind, they just announced it for tomorrow. Shredder's Revenge Shadow Drop? Mike, both Tales of Vesperia and World of Final Fantasy Maxima are on sale right now. Which one do you recommend more? All right, look, I haven't played World of Final Fantasy, but I don't think I would care that much for it. It's like it's the Final Fantasy for kids, and I know it's kind of neat that like, oh look, wow, everyone's here, and it has the old ATB battle system, but it just doesn't seem all that engrossing. Meanwhile, Tales of Vesperia is incredible. That's a fantastic game. Just get Tales of Vesperia. It's so good. Mr. Boer says, "What's up, Nintendogs? Mike, I have need of your expertise. Finally." Next month, my sister and her family are coming to visit me in the LA area, and of course, the trip wouldn't be complete without a visit to Disneyland. I have a niece and nephew ages 7 and 5, and this will be their first time going to Disneyland. Any advice you can give as both an uncle and Disney park goer? Are there any tricks for keeping young kids entertained while waiting in line? Just give them their screens. I know, like, sometimes it's like, oh, we don't want to overindulge them in the screens. If they're waiting in those long lines, give them their iPads,
screens.
give them their iPhones, give them whatever
Everyone
they
else
need.
is going to be on screens. Why wouldn't kids be able to just give them the screens? They're going to be fine.
Yeah. The other thing, don't push them. If they're tired, they need to go back to the hotel or whatever. Go ahead, find some low key rides and areas. Don't have any expectations of what you're going to need to do.
No, explain to them in excruciating detail why they need to be miserable so you can get your money's worth out of the money you paid for these spoiled little brats. That makes them feel good.
Yeah, don't push them onto any rides because like you want to or like you think they need to. Like your 7-year-old seems like they're afraid of doing Big Thunder Mountain or the teacups. So like you don't need to do it.
What's the haunted house that actually isn't spooky at Disney?
Haunted Mansion.
Okay, that one do make them do, because I was a kid and I thought I'd be scared, and then my family was like, no, Jeff, do it. And I'm like, oh, this is great. This is actually super fun. What was I talking about?
Yeah, I'm actually going with nephews and nieces, a lot of them around those same ages, 7 and 5 in November. And it's going to be interesting to see what everybody does and what they do not. Now, my advice that I'm doing for myself is after the big family trip, I'm staying behind for a couple extra days just to actually kind of relax and do my own thing for a
right.
little bit.
The hidden German brothels inside of Disney. Yes.
Oh, lots of snacks. And for everybody, go to the corn dog cart at the end of Main Street on the right, the red corn dog wagon. Incredible corn dogs. The best. Also, the beignets in New Orleans Square, they're like little donuts. They're Mickey shaped and they are really good. They're at the Mint Julep Bar, not too far from the train station there. VJ says, I had a dream last night. You both were replaced by Statler and Waldorf, famed heckling elder Muppets. That is all. Have a great day, everyone. That sounds like a fantastic dream.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It sounds like eventually a reality.
Yes, in 30 years, that will just be us. We'll be like heckling all the younger game journalists and game developers will be shitting on their efforts while we just criticize everyone and laugh at ourselves. Major Arms Blazer says, hello, you fucking donkeys. I want to know, what is the one game you wish you could replay without knowing a damn thing about it? As someone who smoked a lot of weed, I forgot a lot from video games I played years ago. It can be pretty fun to be able to go in with relatively little knowledge. Thank you, and maybe consider changing the name to Nintendogs if a suit ever comes after you. I mean, that's interesting. Super Mario, like I don't want it to be one where there's like moments where I have to like figure out puzzles again, if that makes sense. But like just like seeing these big surprises for the first time again, like Mario Odyssey would be a good one because that game had some really like cool moments that were
Yeah.
that really stuck with me that first time. So going in fresh there be good. But I don't. This is a theoretical, comes up a lot, Jeff. But I have no issue just playing through games again. Anyways, I play through like LucasArts adventure games where the whole game is just solving puzzles, and I know the solutions now, and I still like playing them. So
yeah, I for the most part, my memory is such that I can read a book again almost right after I get done reading it, and it would be like reading it for the first time again. I know that must sound really strange. I remember like the emotions and stuff that I get from stuff, and like that, like the vague nostalgia. Like I remember that. If you could imagine like a book or a game having a smell and stuff like that, I can remember that stuff. But it's the actual details of the plot or the way like the levels themselves or the layouts of the puzzles, all that stuff leaves my brain. So I can go back to most things. That said, I would like to have that initial experience of Breath of the Wild again. That was super special. So that'd be cool.
Velocity Prime 1 asks, what is the Luigi's Mansion 3 of game consoles? It's Xbox 360. So, right, it's like
Yes.
like the other one wasn't this giant hit.
Yes.
And the Xbox 360 was like, well, that's a surprising hit, but still not like the best-selling console of all time or anything. But wow, I can't believe it did that well. Good for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and it's like a fair thing to measure other. It's not the best-selling console of all time, but if you reach the Xbox 360's threshold, you're doing pretty well.
Yep, exactly. Nintendo Bro asks, what smells worse, Wario's gas or Hetsu's gift? Who's Hetsu?
I don't know. Someone say Hetsu because Wario's gas probably smells like delicious garlic.
Oh my god! Now I'm looking up Hetsu. I'm probably gonna find porn. Hetsu locations. This is Zelda. This is the Breath of the Wild thing. It's Jeff. Oh, this is the tree with the shit. The tree shit. The tree that gives you the tree poop.
Okay. Yes.
But that's all calcified. It probably doesn't smell like anything.
Yeah, it's probably fine.
Okay. Yeah. So I think
like
Mario's
cow pies.
I think Mario's shit farts probably smell worse.
Yes.
Yeah, we're fake fans, they say.
Yeah, I don't fucking know their names.
Fair enough. Godrizla, no question. Just to say, I am very big, angry, and disappointed in each and every person who claims to be a gamer and didn't buy Metroid Dread. So are we.
Yep.
So are we.
Get their ass.
Diogo RP says, Woof Woof Canines, what was one game that from previews and early impressions you thought you wouldn't vibe with, but ended up greatly enjoying? I remember when Streets of Rage 4 got shown and the art style got a very lukewarm reception, but ended up being one of the best games in years. People are bad at judging art styles based off trailers. I can't believe, and that was the thing. Apparently, people thought Streets of Rage 4 looked bad, which sure always looks good to me. And people are like doing the same thing with Return to Monkey Island a bit. Although I think Ron Gilbert's like making it. I think Ron Gilbert's almost making it worse by talking about it constantly. I don't know how many people are actually that upset about the art style and Return to Monkey Island.
Hey, it probably is like a couple guys, and Ron Gilbert's just like, I hate these three dudes individually. Yeah, Return to Monkey Island looks fantastic.
Yes. So yeah, what's the game that I thought I would not get into?
Yeah,
and ended up.
This one's easy for me. It's Link's Awakening remake, where in the trailer I was like hesitant about the way it looked, and I thought I was like gonna have a poor relationship with it. And after playing it, it's like, it is different than what Link's Awakening was going for on the Game Boy, but it's different in a new and good way, and it exists apart from that original one, and I could just go back and play the original one now on my Game & Watch Zelda thing, so I can just play it whenever I want. So yeah.
Yeah. I was never a Giant Quest fan, so Giant Quest 11 didn't look good to me. I even played it at a preview event and didn't care for it, and then when I finally sat down to play through it on my Switch, it became one of my favorite RPGs ever. So we'll say that's my answer.
Yeah, a bit. Who said it in here about the? People. Right, Brian. Neither me or Mike were one of those people that were ragging on Wind Waker when it got announced.
No. See, that's the thing. Yeah. I was on the right side of history on that one from the very beginning. I'm very proud of that. I put it on my grave. I thought Wind Waker looked good when it was revealed, and he was like 12.
Yes, I was like, this looks amazing for what it is. It's different, but I'm willing to play it. Like, right, that's how I was at that time. But I was never, ever, ever like, this looks bad and I'm angry.
I was straight up enthusiastic about it from the beginning. That's how much of a good person I am.
You were right. Like, that was the way to be, because that game still looks incredible to this day.
I'm still waiting for a pro wrestler to tell me that Wind Waker is their favorite their favorite Zelda game. That'd be incredible if Wind Waker was a wrestling game. Although there's that sumo wrestling mini game thing in Twilight Princess, actually, isn't there? So not that far off. Jedi Moss 4 says it is time to admit that 2D Metroidvanias just don't have a ton of mainstream appeal. Is it time to admit this? Metroid Dread did well, but hasn't cracked 3 million, and even a game like Hollow Knight, being fairly cheap to buy in almost every platform available, didn't do much more than 3 million sold. Recent Castlevania releases done about as well. I think these 2D Metroidvania games have found a ceiling sales.
They are a gamer's game, right? That's what they are. They are like sort of like immersive sims, where it's like you can't just like be like, oh, I play games. You have to be like someone who's like, oh, I think about games all the time, and I know what a Metroidvania is. And then even on top of that, like I think about Metroidvanias a lot. And then I started making games. It almost feels like if every person that was making a Metroidvania game right now bought Metroid Dread 3, it would probably be about 3 million copies sold. Like that's like how it feels. So yeah, I get what they're saying here.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes it just takes one thing to change that. I don't know. It is weird to me.
Yes, that's true.
Like, is it a complexity issue? Because again, like sometimes those Pokemon games, like they're not like simple. 3D Mario platform are not necessarily simple. So I don't know what exactly it is, but there is certainly some kind of a ceiling. Now, 3 million copies sold for video games isn't some ridiculous ceiling. Again, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was this giant thing, sold 5 million copies, right? So there's probably a little bit more since then, but so you get the point.
Yeah, but like, yeah, about the same amount of time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gerbear says people don't really think Genesis is a better name than Mega Drive, do they? I can understand.
No, I don't think that. I know that.
Yeah, I can understand Mike being a fan of Phil Collins due to the Tarzan soundtrack and wanting to big up a fellow shorty. But what's Jeff's? I am not short. I'm 5'11". Genesis, keep the Bible stuff out of video games. Genesis is such a much better name than Mega Drive. Mega Drive is the most generic ass. Even movies, even like a cartoon that had to invent a fake video game console name could come up with better than the Mega Drive.
If you had to put consoles like on a shelf at the store with all the cereal, Mega Drive would be the cereal on the bottom shelf in a bag or something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it would be next to Bran O's or whatever. Yes. So there you go. Maybe we should do a poll there. I know Jeff's sneaking in a phone call right now, but we can we could do that poll next after we. Looks like I think people are pretty definitively agree that World 1, 2, and Super Mario Brothers is a sewer. About 83% have said yes, it is, and 17% say no, it is not the Mega Drive. I feel bad.
Hey, Mike, I have an emergency and have to go. I have to go pick up Emmy. She's sick at school, so I'm gonna go deal with that, and I will be back. Should we just pick this up when I get back? Okay, all right. So everybody, we're gonna stop this now. I'll be back. We'll pick up the show then, and we'll finish it when I get back. All right. You don't want to just sit here, right? Because it'll probably be like 30 minutes.
Nah, it's a bit long. We'll be back in about 30 minutes. Everybody.
All right, bye, everybody. Pick up if I hit start streaming again. Let's see.
We're back.
Oh, does it look like we're back? Yeah, all right. Cool.
Oh. Yeah, we'll post. Yeah, I think so, Jones. I think we're good.
Okay. Let me start recording again, and then we can get right back into it. Okay. 5, 4, 3. All right, Mike. Sorry about that. I was my kid. She had a 99-degree fever, which is enough to be like, I'll just send her home because she's also complaining about her throat. So I went to pick up. She's feeling okay though. She's upstairs watching Lilo and Stitch because that's what the other girl was watching when she fell asleep for her nap. So
I like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, they say it's like their chill out movie. It's one of the movies that they actually like sit through instead of just like watching 10 minutes and then wandering off to go do whatever.
Well, Jeff, let's end this poll about World 1, 2 being a sewer or not. It looks like 78% of people think it is. And let's ask them what's the better name, Genesis or Mega Drive? Now, look, I know we're probably going to win this because most of our audience is in the U.S., but
and morally correct people, right? Yeah,
right,
okay.
Yes, they aren't fools. They aren't fools. So you can say that setup. I will read this next question here, and it is from Lossian. Hey guys, hope you're doing well, and Jeff, that you have made good progress on the packing. With the Nintendo sales figures out, are you surprised Dread didn't cross the 3 million mark? I guess I am. I guess I
A little
did think it was
surprised.
going to at least reach that. Maybe it's a little arbitrary. It certainly got close. It is funny because if it was like 3.1 million, I'd be like doing this like happy of like, yeah, I did it. I was silly to think I'd ever get 5 million, I guess, but this is pretty good. Even though I can't, like, a lot of people are still like, yeah, this is good. This is the best selling Metroid game ever. I am still surprised it's not doing a little bit better at least.
I am too. I think so. I think these numbers are right. It sold like 160,000 copies in like the last quarter, and it was pretty front loaded, and then the fans showed up, and it kind of feels like, what this is like. RGT over on on the Spawncast made this bet where he's like, oh, it's not gonna go with 3 million because all the fans will show up right away, and it's not gonna have a long tail, and that seems to be almost exactly right, which is very devastating because I hate when RGT is right. That's kind of where I'm at.
Radu, thank you for reminding me to move my microphone back where it needs to be. Sorry about that one there. What was RGT's bet exactly? Sorry.
So I think if he was saying that there's no way it was going to be the best, or not the best sell. He said there's no way it's going to sell more than 3 million copies, and if it sells more than 3 million copies in the first year, I think is the stipulation. He needs to play Balan Wonderworld. And then if it doesn't sell more than 3 million copies in that time, which it probably still will cross that threshold, 100,000 copies in the next 6 months, the next 5 months.
Yeah.
Especially after that update, which happened after this reporting period. It got an update, kind of got another push out there. If he does that, he think he gets like some collector's edition of some game. I can't remember. I didn't really care. I just wanted him to play Balan Wonderworld really, really bad. That's all I ever wanted.
It's gonna come down to like when Nintendo reports things. I feel like really, I was gonna sell more than 3 million copies ultimately at some point.
Yes,
here.
that's true.
Next question here is from Dugan asking, greetings from one doghouse to another. Based on the last Grubb snacks, which of the following dormant Nintendo franchises do we see another installment in next? Star Fox, Golden Sun, F-Zero, or Pikmin? Do they all need an open world version for it to be a true Switch installment? I mean, Pikmin still has a big supporter in Shigeru Miyamoto, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've never said that fourth Pikmin game that he said was like in the works is no longer in the works. But also they don't like get hounded about it all that often, right? No one's they don't. It's every time they.
A lot of people almost seemed like happy enough with Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
That's kind of halfway where I'm. Pikmin 3 Deluxe is such the ideal formation of that idea where I'm like, I'm just happy we got this. I understand if we never get Pikmin 4, it seems like we might not get Pikmin 4, even though they said that. I'm okay with that. But of those 4 games, still Pikmin 4 seems maybe the most likely, and then if not, F-Zero.
Definitely. Then F-Zero, then I don't know. They must be pretty scared of Star Fox because they went in mildly hard with Star Fox Zero, and it didn't really pay off. Golden Sun, who knows? Who knows? Ed says you wake up in the middle of the night to the Nintendo devil offering you the following contracts. Here's mine first. Mike, Metroid Dread hits 5 million, but Silksong doesn't launch until 2028. Do you accept these terms? Hell no. Look, I don't work for Nintendo. It doesn't matter to me ultimately how much it sells.
Invest in Nintendo stock? Who cares?
Yeah, as long as it's not like a bomb and they're like afraid of making Metroid games. Now, I want to play Silksong. Here, Jeff, here's yours. Metroid Dread hits 15 million, but only once you complete every single Kingdom Hearts game, including all spin-offs. Do you accept these terms? Come on, Jeff. Don't be a bad person.
Fuck no.
Oh, come on. All right, I play those games for fun.
Okay. Yeah, I probably would do that because 15 million is like guarantees us Metroid games for the foreseeable future.
Yes, forever.
And as long as I can make content, as long as I don't have to like play alone and I can never tell anyone my thoughts about how much I hate every moment of it.
So you just like shit on them constantly to your Twitch chat while you're doing it.
I can't, like, a solitary confinement with the Kingdom Hearts games sounds actually like real punishment to me.
Jeff, that's it for the questions from Patreon. But Genesis is only winning by 60%, which is like it's baffling to me that anybody would. It's down to 59% that anybody would think Mega Drive is better.
Yeah, I kind of wish you wouldn't have given your opinion on it, Mike, because you're definitely stirring us here.
Well, now you can suffer with me now. It's the same thing with Resident Evil and Biohazard. Who thinks Biohazard is a better name than Resident Evil? Such a good name.
How do you feel about the colors of the Super Nintendo versus the Super Famicom, Mike?
Oh, big into the Super Nintendo. I like the purple. I like that purple
too.
gray. I understand, like,
me too.
You kind of miss like the color coding, like each color is a button kind of thing. But I like that. I like that purple gray. It's a much.
I think those colors that they use for the Super Famicom are great. They are,
Yes.
but I don't get the people who are like, it's just so much better. The Super Nintendo is complete garbage, trash compared to the Super Famicom. I'm like, you're insane. No way. It looks great.
Yeah, I like that purple a lot. Okay, Jeff, that's it for those. You want to read the super chats we've gotten?
I
Then we'll
do.
get
Let
into
me
this
scroll
topic.
back here. Yes. Okay. From 4 hours ago from Uriel Delgado. When do you think we'll get a main Nintendo Direct? We're probably not going to get one till June right now, right?
Yeah, well, E3 time in quotation
Yes.
marks. I don't want to say one, but yes, E3 time. Yeah, it is funny how we're still calling it E3. Some people, and then some people are getting upset about it. I understand both sides. It's like, look, it's always been E3. I know it's not E3, and it's weird. But yeah, I bet we get one in June.
Chris is in chat saying, no, you guys are insane because the Super Famicom is so much better than the Super NES. Listen, the console itself, I can kind of maybe see where you're going with that. I love the Super Nintendo the way it looks, but specifically the color scheme, that purple is so unique and stands out to me even more than like the 4 colors of the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom. Sorry.
All of the best consoles have like 3 colors. Otherwise, it's too much, right? Like, yeah, so Super Nintendo has like the gray, the white, and the purple. The Genesis has the red, and the black mostly there. Yeah, you keep things simple.
You know, the problem is
There's too many
it was called the
colors.
Sega Mega Drive in Europe, right? So it was really
Yes, it
just
was
the
also-
Genesis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where it is 63 to 37% right now in favor of Genesis. So moving back now it's moving back in the wrong direction, 62%. Okay. Thank you, Michael, for those super chats without a message. Green Thumbs says Reggie said Nintendo of America didn't localize Mother 3 for biz reasons, not content reasons. Do you think there's any hope left for an eventual Western release? There's always hope.
There's always hope. I've always thought the whole content reasons things was ridiculous. I haven't played the game. What the hell could possibly be in there, Jeff, that they're that afraid of? There's mildly spicy things in a lot of Nintendo published Bayonetta 3, right? She says fuck in that game. And it's just constantly making sexual innuendos and whatnot. Unless it's... I know there's some kind of religious thing. I don't know. I can't imagine they care that much about it.
The solution to every puzzle in Mother 3 is you have to beat Johnny Depp, and people are going to get very upset. They're going to get very mad at you. From Tasty Delicious. Hey, Beefy Boys. As an ex-Y-Townite, I think Youngstownite. It warms my heart to see some Ohio boys leaving their mark on the industry I love. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Absolutely. Yeah. Mike, you went to Youngstown State, right? Is that where you went
to YSU. That's
okay.
Correct. And my brother works there now.
Yeah. All right.
I was just there at their art museum last week. So there's this famous comic artist. I got to find his name now, and they had an exhibit on there. But he also, those like famous concept art for Raiders of the Lost Ark, or like Indiana Jones, like with the jumping off the horse and he's standing there with his whip.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
And they had them there. They're at YSU right now. You can go to the Butler and see those. It's incredible. Butler Art Institute. I need to go find out who this guy's name is because I feel really bad about it.
While you do that, Doovie says, now I need to dust off my old N64 and play Ocarina of Time. Yeah, I don't blame you. From the Uncharted Wolf. Hey, Grubb Brothers. If Sony were to buy Square Enix, would they broker a deal with Nintendo to release certain games on Switch? Thanks for what you do. Yeah, thank you for writing in. If Sony, I mean, they would probably just honor existing contracts, and maybe those teams that are making like HD 2D games, maybe Sony is like, actually, it makes sense to keep releasing those on Switch because they sell better on there anyhow. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that would have to be figured out for that deal to like finally make sense. From Uriel Delgado, was playing through Xbox version of Symphony of the Night, got near the top of the castle, thought I was done. Brother joked about doing it all over again, and then the castle flips. That's right. Yeah. Hey, there you go.
I'll do it
famous
again.
moment.
Fucking do it again. That's pretty good. By the way, this comic artist's name, he's like a famous. He's done a bunch of like Marvel stuff. It was Jim Steranko. Steranko?
Oh yeah. Totally. I know that name.
He's famous.
Yes, his art is fantastic. Yeah.
You can go to YSU and see it. It's great.
From Achievement, my local Arby's closed. Rest in peace.
Wow.
I can only hope that it closed because they're opening a bigger and better one.
Yes,
that has to be what's happening there.
What's going on?
I
Arby's is only on the up and up.
I ordered Arby's for lunch the other day. I do this like almost like once a week now because I'm in an Arby's mood lately, Mike.
Sure.
And
who isn't?
yeah, so I typically get the classic roast beef. That's usually what I'm in the mood for. But then I also got like, I'll have this for lunch tomorrow. I got one of their turkey gyros, and I put it in the fridge. And my wife was looking for lunch. She's like, I found this.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh yeah, it's from yesterday. And I'm like, go ahead, eat it. That's great. That's fine. And she ate it because she hadn't had it before. And she's like, that was so good. I'm like, yeah, it was Arby's. I know, like totally, it is. Like they have so many really good things he wouldn't expect. From Radu Paragaltaganas, question for the Game Mess community. Answer where you can. What do you like to play when enjoying the Grubb Minotti casts? So if you're in chat right now,
what do you play while listening to us?
If you're in chat, feel free to put that
Besides
there.
yourselves.
I will put this as a question on the Spotify as long as I can remember. So if you're listening on Spotify, I don't use Spotify, so swipe right or something. You'll find the question this week, and you can tell us what you listen to or what you play while listening to us. And then let me know if anyone listens while using like one of the podcasting apps on the consoles, so you can like hear the game and us at the same time. I want to know that. I've done that a couple times, and I've actually really liked that. Let's see, from Alejandro Temez. WrestleQuest will be at indie presentation. I don't know. A lot of people are hoping to see more from that WrestleQuest game.
Yeah, I would hope so. Well, WWE's making their own wrestling RPG now, right? So wow.
Yeah. I hope so. Well, there was the WrestleQuest thing. It was like, oh, and there's going to be NFTs or something, or like they're into blockchain stuff, right? That's what happened when they got interviewed about this game. I feel like I remember that happening.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Maybe I could be making that up.
They got milkshake ducked immediately.
I think, yes, exactly. And then finally from MN Goldie, I'm going to assume that's Minnesota Goldie. I'm pretty new, and I want to thank you guys and everyone for being so welcoming. Absolutely. My question is, Mario All-Stars plus Mario World, the greatest cartridge ever? That's a very interesting proposition. Like, if you could only have one cartridge that actually exists and isn't like, like an SD card reader or something like that, what's the one you would choose? That's probably pretty high up there.
That's pretty good. I don't know.
I don't love the way those All-Star games look anymore, but even still, they still play right.
Right, I'd have the NES one. There were some decent Genesis like bundle cartridges because the cartridge space on Genesis got so much bigger at the end there that they could just put 6 of those original 4 megabyte games onto one cartridge or something like that. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking like 16-bit era, that is probably right. I'm not I like the 2D Mario games a lot. I'm like the biggest fan in the world of them. I guess I would actually still rather just have a single cartridge of Super Metroid than that still.
Mike, that does it for the questions from the super chats.
All right, guys, you can send more super chats if you have any other questions, or if you want to get in on this topic, which is what is the one Nintendo 64 game you want on Nintendo Switch Online the most? Jeff, this is the last one of these. We went through the whole thing here. We did it.
Yeah. Do you want mine? Because it's like there's so many for me to choose from, and I feel like the obvious ones are the ones that people who've listened to the show for a long time will immediately know. Wave Race and 1080, like obviously I want those, but
1080p
snowboarding, yes. I'm I asked on Twitter like what people think as well, so to like help me think of something. The one that definitely does stick out is the one I actually often go back on my Xbox to play on the Rare Replay package, whatever it's called. And it's Blast Corps. Blast Corps is a very, very good video game. One that easily could have like a resurgence today if they were to take that concept and remake it. There's a lot of games right now like Teardown that are about voxels and breaking down things with using tools, and like there's a game called Tools of Destruction, which is almost like a spiritual successor in some ways to Blast Corps. But for what it was on the N64, and the way that like when I played the game at first, I definitely rented it at first, and trying to figure out what even the concept was while playing it was so weird, because it's like this nuclear truck driving through this area, and you have to like use these vehicles to knock down buildings so the nuclear truck doesn't run into the buildings and explode. It's such a weird and silly concept, but once you start figuring out like what you need to do and how to use each of the vehicles to destroy these things, and being like, okay, I'm driving this car into this thing repeatedly and the building's not knocking down, you realize, oh, I need to be power sliding, and then it's super easy, but then it's a little bit difficult to control. All that stuff worked super well for me. It's aged a little bit funky because the controls are a bit like touchy and sensitive, but it's still a really fun game.
I remember there's the one just like a big robot, it just butt stomps like Mario
Yes.
64 style, and God, that was fun. Yeah, that's a
Yes.
fun game, and it's rare, so like Microsoft would have to, I guess, say okay, but it's not like asking for GoldenEye or Perfect Dark. here.
Exactly.
I can't imagine they play super hardball with it, and they already put Banjo-Kazooie on there, so they will play.
Yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually will probably bring this up, but I would really like to see Mischief Makers on there, which is
very good game.
That's a treasure game. It's a 2D side scrolling action game with like a lot of like grab and throw sort of mechanics.
Right.
Just it's very unique. It's very special, and there aren't a lot of those on the Nintendo 64. Good 2D games. In fact, I remember at first I was excited for this game long before I really like knew. Like I played Treasure Games, I wasn't super aware of them as a company.
Exact same with me at this point.
Yeah, but
with Mischief Makers.
Yeah, but I was excited for it because I was actually excited for Yoshi's Story, but that one wasn't coming out soon at the time. Like it was only in the magazines, but Mischief Makers was, and the games kind of looked similar. So like, well, this will tie me over. Turns out it's a much better game than Yoshi's Story, actually.
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. Like I was very happy to move on to 3D because it was the next new thing. But something about that Mischief Makers, it's like, okay, actually, I still have like a burning heart for 2D games at the same time.
Yes. All right, let's see what the community has to say about this one here. Bench JC says, I feel like Quest 64 would be a great addition. I just need to play Brian's Adventure on the go. Jeff, the Nintendo 64 wasn't known for JRPGs very much either. Quest 64 was certainly one of those.
Yes, it was one. That is the one thing that it's in the pro column for Quest 64. It was one of those.
Turbo Madden says the answer should be Madden NFL 2001. But would Exhibit allow a game that has lyricless versions of his song in the Mad Game to be played on a modern system? I don't know. Instead, give me Blast Core. After playing Banjo, I want more rare games, and the idea of a puzzle game where vehicles and mechs must destroy buildings to keep a rolling nuke from exploding sounds amazing. So there you go. That's another one. Okay.
Yep. Howdy how. Yep.
Ezis is officially doing a bit here now. He says, on Nintendo 64, we missed out on Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, which is fine because the game was average at best. The game I really want on NSO is Duck Dodgers starring Daffy Duck. The game is ridiculously expensive to buy, so it's impossible to legally play. Duck Dodgers is also a fantastic and unrated character. The game deserves a full remake.
That is actually true, though. I love Duck Dodgers.
That's a great character.
It's like, at this point, it's such like a weird thing to be like, yes, it's based on Buck Rogers, right? Yeah, Buck Rogers, which is like this old serial sci-fi thing. Kids today, of course, I barely have any concept of that. And it's like, oh, and then Daffy Duck. A lot of kids don't even know what Daffy Duck is. And the idea of getting a full remake of that concept is incredible.
He writes these so sincerely. I'm still not entirely sure if he's joking.
Yeah, I don't know. This could just be like the way like you are about Disney. This person could just feel this way about really Looney Tunes.
Yeah, maybe this is like
there's a lot of great Looney Tunes games though, and Tiny Toons games.
I'm watching The Beast who's playing through every Nintendo 64 game. He hasn't gotten to the Duck Dodgers game yet, so I'll see. Alex says Clay Fighter 64, which I have to step in and note is actually Clay Fighter 63 and a third, I believe was it. I must have been 3 when I played that and I adored it. It always boiled down to being a punchy bag for my older brother. But I still loved renting that one from Blockbuster and remember as one of the last few rentals before the location in my neighborhood closed. Now, Jeff, I forget if it was just the original or if there was some like a special version of it, but one of them was a Blockbuster exclusive straight up, and I think it's like one of the harder to get Nintendo 64 games now. So it'd be fun if they could just put that on NSO, right? Why not?
Right. That'd be great. Yes. There was like multiple Blockbuster exclusives, right? I think that's right.
I think so. One versus CPU says Wave Race 64. Why is this not already on there? It should have been there on day one. Probably the best water racing game ever made. It's certainly better than Blue Storm, and there's no way Nintendo can fuck up the button mapping for this one. It's got to be on there eventually, and hopefully sooner.
I mean, I think at E3, at Nintendo's E3 Direct, like one of their big moments is going to be like all the N64 games that should have been there are coming later this year, and then we get back to this once a month thing. But honestly, if they don't have like GoldenEye ready to go in June for the C3 thing, I would love to see Wave Race. That would just be fantastic.
Velocity Prime 1 says, "Yo, they're finally here, performing for you. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you wanna clap as we take you through this monkey rap. Huh? DK. Donkey Kong, but in actuality, Beetle Adventure Racing." So
that's actually a great game. That's a great game. It's legit. Yeah. Beetle Adventure Racing probably wouldn't come because of like licensing stuff, but and it's EA, and EA is probably like, we're not going to put any effort into this.
There
Clay Fighter 63 and a third was definitely a Blockbuster exclusive. So was Stunt Racer 64, which I barely remember.
Nintendo 64 just had a zillion racing games on there, and we don't have nearly enough of them on NSO right now. We have F-Zero and Mario Kart, basically, I think. And like a lot of them are mediocre, but a lot of them are pretty fun. I know that, Beetle Adventure Racing is one that people do like a lot. And then Pablo Cost says, Cruising USA.
Yes, that'd be very good.
Also be really fun. Super Harmon says Mission Impossible. I never played it, but I remember reading about it in magazines. It was interested in it, then never got it. Just an itch I need to scratch. Jeff, I also feel like that game was in the magazines a ton for some reason.
I missed the name. What was it?
Mission Impossible.
Yes. You know what it was?
The movie was out.
The movie was out, but also they were lying. That was one of the most notorious bull shots in magazine history, at least for me. All the screenshots they sent out for that game were completely just like stripped from like the most powerful silicon graphics mainframe that they could get their hands on, and they made no effort to be like, this is what it's actually going to look like when it's running on an N64. So it just like looked incredible, and I remember being very excited about it, and I bet a lot of editors, a lot of game magazines got fooled by that back then.
God Rosla said Resident Evil 2, make it happen, Nintendo. That would be interesting, huh? I wonder if Capcom would go for that or not.
I feel like they should, almost at this point. I feel like if they don't do that, they should put out all of the versions of Resident Evil in a collection. So like the Saturn version and stuff, like 'cause they all have their own characteristics.
I guess that's my question. Like, I don't know too much about how different it is. I assume it's probably worse. Like, it probably doesn't have the CG cutscenes and stuff. And probably,
but I still want to see what they did instead. Yes, absolutely. Another Blockbuster exclusive N64 game, Daikatana. It was a limited exclusive, I think, but it was it definitely started out as a Blockbuster exclusive.
Oh my god, that game's awful on PC. I can't imagine playing that on.
I know I'm like all these games I really want to play. Track and Field 2000, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine is one we talked about before.
That's going to be our bet thing at some point. Oh yeah, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. I can't believe that was a Blockbuster exclusive. That should be thrown on there.
Yeah, it definitely should be, because it's like, if they can get it running, because it's one of those ones that's kind of difficult to emulate, but it's much better now. I would love to see that.
I mean, I watched the Beast play that one, and it's a big game. Like, it's,
right, it's substantial. Right.
I mean, I don't know if it's good or not, but it is substantial.
Okay. For what it is, it's okay.
Yeah. That's gonna be like one of our bets. Someday, me and you're gonna have a bet, and the loser is going to have to play the Nintendo 64 version of Daikatana.
Yes,
I'm not gonna even make it beat.
Right. Yes, just right. Of course. Like for an hour at least. Yeah, 5 hours is good. Okay. Yeah. Jesus, that sounds like a nightmare. From Kimco, from the publisher Kimco, Daikatana on N64.
Shoji Kodo says Wave Race 64, iconic. I feel that should have been service day one. If not that, then maybe Pilot Wings 64. How is Pilot Wings not on there already? Come on.
That is God, and that game has such a banger soundtrack. Pilot Wings is like the kind of thing, you're right. If you're going to launch a Nintendo Switch Online thing, Pilot Wings should just be there day one, no matter what the system is. It should just be there.
Carl Menger says, Hybrid Heaven. There are so many B-grade games that were failed interesting experiments when developers hadn't quite figured out 3D gaming yet. Want to go back and revisit more of these. Fair enough. Winnie says Road Rash 64. I kind of missed this whole series, really, and I know some people love...
my wife loves it.
The Genesis Road Rash games supposed to be very good. I do not know very much about Road Rash 64, but it'd be interesting. I'd like to play it.
Yeah.
God Rosa says, Magical Tetris Challenge. We can always use more Tetris games on Switch, but sadly, I doubt Disney would let Nintendo do this. Man, I forgot that there was a Disney-themed Tetris game on the Nintendo 64. But that sure did exist, huh?
Yeah. I guess, I completely forgot that. That's incredible.
Mr. Bohr says, I want to see the original Mario Party added to NSO. Then I can get the Nintendo 64 Switch controller, go to Minigame Island, and relive my childhood as I give myself a blister on my palm, trying and failing to get Tug of War and Pedal Power. So, I wonder if Nintendo wants to put the Mario Party games on there, where they kind of just sort of remade them. And but even personally, I'm pretty good with just having Mario Party Superstar myself.
Yeah, I am too. And this was Dan Reichert when I posted this to Twitter. This was his thing, and I'm very glad I'm not in a position where he could force something like that upon me. So I'm glad that Mario Party 1, the original, is not available. Instead, we get the much more streamlined Mario Party Superstars, which I actually have played with Dan Reichert, and that was much better because it seems like it's much more considered for modern games. Yes.
It's streamlined in some very nice ways.
Yes.
I thought somebody would bring this one up. Jamie H1224 says, this was my answer to a previous topic on favorite Nintendo 64 games. But for me, it's Space Station Silicon Valley. Play it every year, and also feel like it's at the right level of obscurity to make it onto the service once they get through the list of already revealed games. Jeff, this always comes up when people talk about like the best like hidden gems. You know, like,
I've never played it.
It's not the top tier, but people like this game a lot, and it's really interesting. You're like a computer chip, and you possess these robotic animals. It seems fun. I've never played it, and I would like to. So I hope it gets on. And it's also made by the company that would eventually become Rockstar. Just
right,
funny.
exactly, yes.
Turbo Sean says, bit of a curveball for you, Mega Man 64. While Mega Man Legends is my favorite game, the Nintendo 64 port is actually how I first experienced it. It's an incredibly charming game that I'd love to see more people experience, and since a legacy collection would likely include the PlayStation 1 original, this might be the only way this specific version of the game gets re-released. Sean, I'm interested to know, like, is it considered to be significantly worse than the PlayStation 1 version? It seems relatively features same, like it has the voice acting in it, which is surprising. It's probably a bit compressed, but I don't know like what the Mega Man Legacy fan community's opinion is on 64 versus Legends. Oh, here's a good one. Not Doc says Gauntlet Legends with 4-player online co-op would be great.
That would be fantastic. That's actually a good version of that game too. It's not the Dreamcast version, but it's still very good.
Yeah. He said, I played that a lot with friends back in the day, and it would be great to play it again when I'm old enough to actually know what I'm doing. Also, you can play as a magically enchanted chicken. There you go. Casual says, easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's mystical ninja starring Goemon. This gem not only oozes of charm and great songs, there's even a musical theme, and the villains are Kabuki Teethra kids? They're Kabuki Teethra? I know a guy Kabuki, right? I don't know about Teathre kids.
They're Enigma.
They're Enigma kids. It's also a ton of fun to play and holds up relatively fine control-wise for a Nintendo 64 game. Jeff, I rented this game, I feel like 2 times, and I never had any idea what I was doing.
Exactly the same. 100% same experience.
I could have
definitely rented it more than once. Yep, but I mean, I could tell that there was like probably some fun in there. It seemed like there was a fun game. I just couldn't get to it.
Turboson says minor stuff regarding Mega Man 64 versus Legends. He says minor stuff got cut, like bits of voice acting, but it's mostly the same game. Okay.
Also, chat's very happy for you saying Terra Enigma correctly.
I've been practicing. I get up every morning and look at a mirror, and I put on shock collar in case I mess up. Revan, who I'm sure is very excited, said, "Duh, StarCraft." There you go. Wildfire Alex says 3 words: Jet Force Gemini. A supremely underrated classic from Rare, and in my opinion, one of the most fun multiplayer modes for a console at the time. The camera was a bit wonky, but once you got used to it, it was nothing but fun times for all. I liked this game okay, but I never got too far in it.
It's bloated
because of that. It's a little bloated. Like a lot of those later Rare games on Nintendo 64 got pretty bloated.
Yes, they did.
And this definitely has that late Rare bloat for sure.
Absolutely. It's a really good, strong concept, though. And it was like, I like even the character designs, which are kind of these like squat little guys, and then their dog. The dog actually is the best, like,
that's
artistically the best looking character and stuff. It was fantastic.
VJ says, I'm dying for Pokemon Stadium 2 to hit the service alongside any potential old Pokemon games from the Game Boy era. The most recent Pokemon games are good, but there's something comforting about when the games were simple and straightforward. Maybe I'm just old. You know, when I watched the Beast play Pokemon Stadium 2, I was surprised I forgot just how much there is to actually do in that game. In my head, it's just like, yeah, you can play battles with your Pokemon from the Game Boy thing. But there's like special, like kind of like tournaments to go through, and there's all those mini games. There's a lot to do. I think I would like actually just seeing that brought to NSO. Pennywise says, although I love the Rare games, I feel like the best way to play most of those games is on the Rare Replay on Xbox, including Banjo-Kazooie, better resolution, achievement support, auto HDR, etc. So instead, I'm going to pray we somehow get Extreme G. I bought it from a kid in elementary school, having no idea what it was, and what a blast. No clue if it holds up or how bad the frame rate
I've not played that probably since I got it for the N64 back then. I remember liking it. But there were so many racing games for the N64 at a certain point. They start, like, you just stop getting excited about them. Although I did really get a craving to go back to San Francisco Rush. I hope someone says San Francisco Rush before we're done.
Yeah, I never played Extreme G, but I played a lot of San Francisco Rush. But
Yeah,
although the one of those I really liked was the futuristic one on Dreamcast.
2049 or whatever it was.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Uh, Running Riot says the Pokemon Stadium games, they were a ton of fun. When I was a kid, I sold my Dreamcast so I can get a Nintendo 64 and the first Pokemon Stadium. I don't know about that, but hey, you do what you got to do. Dr. Turbo says, I want to play the OG Smash, but I'm so terrified of the online being a laggy mess. I'm just going to say 1080 snowboarding. That game was fun as
it's so
hell.
good.
Yeah, I'd rather have 1080 snowboarding than the original. I mean, the original Smash Bros. Should be on there at some point. It is interesting, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the new Smash Brothers, not that. Hoffs says StarCraft 64. We got two for StarCraft 64. Well,
I
I
enjoyed StarCraft 64 actually even with the local multiplayer. We were so used to local same on-screen multiplayer in other games that it was almost like okay, just part of the strategy. You could see what the other guy was doing. But I only played it like 2 times, and I think each time we didn't finish because we the games were going on so long. So when the game either got unplugged or something like that, and we had to go do something else, and someone turned it off so they could watch some TV or something. So yeah.
Even as like a 12-year-old kid, I think I was very snooty about the idea of playing StarCraft
You?
on a Nintendo 64. Yes, I imagine that. Yeah. He said, I want to see Mike and Jeff give it a proper chance, fall in love with the series, get matching Jim Raynor tattoos. Look, I played StarCraft and it's never been much as I've been into Blizzard stuff. StarCraft was always sort of the lesser of those things for me.
Yeah, you just been waiting for Ghost.
Yeah. I probably would have liked that more than the actual StarCraft games. Jake Bogdanov says Revolt, one of my favorite racers, remote control cars, surprisingly well designed tracks with shortcuts, and solid commitment to the tiny toy concept. Great power ups. It's a classic. Yeah, it's like another mid tier, not in a sense of quality, but like it's in terms of popularity.
It's like
that should be on there.
A racing game from Acclaim for the N64, like that. Like what the picture in your head. Although I never even really considered playing this game, let alone playing it. So I'm interested to check it out now.
Turbo Gigi 64 says more people should have access to DMA, now Rockstar North Body Harvest for Nintendo 64. I find it a fascinating relic of 3D open world game design before Grand Theft Auto 3 was developed. Jeff, I constantly get Body Harvest and Space Station Silicon Valley or whatever mixed up. Are they both made by DMA, or was I wrong about one of those? I need to
No, Space Station Silicon Valley definitely is. Body Harvest is the one I actually get that mixed up with Blast Corps, or at least I used to. Not really anymore, but that's because I've played a lot of Blast Corps and I've never actually played Body Harvest.
Body Harvest, DMA.
Rockstar North. Yep, Rockstar North.
All right, good. I feel good. Put both of them on there. Let's do it. And then from Tink, he says, I really enjoyed Hexen 64 a lot. It's probably not the best game, but I have many fond memories of the multiplayer. Outside of this, any THQ wrestling game would rule. I mean, if they would put the wrestling games on there, I'd be so happy, but probably not happening because of licensing. But like that would almost be number one if it's anything. If it was like anything, it would be one of those, or like Rogue Squadron or something.
Yeah,
Hexen 64 would be fun. But like I'd rather have like Night Dive, and maybe I feel like that's one people ask them for a lot if it's not one they're already working on. But like a lot of those old FPSs get really nice remasters, and that's what I would really like to see for Hexen/Hexen 64. Sports Story Prayer Circle Bob says gotta be both Pokemon Stadium games, mostly because people don't realize how brutal those games are. If you don't build a proper team, you can easily get your shit rocked. Plus, the minigames were pretty fun too. I agree with that. Oh, here's a good one. Gerbear says a Western release of the F-Zero expansion kit. Technically a 64 DD game, but it'd be cool, right? If Mike is being a stickler for 64 only, then a rocket robot on wheels. I'll allow your F-Zero thing. That's pretty good.
Yeah, the 64 DD game should just run fine on a Switch. So yeah.
Jess Monica says it's gotta be WF No Mercy. It's arguably the best wrestling game of all time, and being able to play it online with friends would be a dream come true. Beefhammer also says No Mercy. I don't really like wrestling games, but I have fond memories of this as a kid. I want to use creative wrestlers so we can make Jeff into the world heavyweight champion. Yeah, I tell you what, it would almost be like as significant as getting GoldenEye on there. If you could get No Mercy on there, that'd be incredible. Epic Open World says Buck Bumble. A new generation must know the greatness that is the Buck Bumble. I was wondering if someone would bring this one up, but Cat Guy Neko says Ogre Battle 64 would be a great game. I never played this, and apparently it's like the one actually really good JRPG on Nintendo 64. So that would be good. Kyle Gradable says the Nintendo 64 I want most on NSO is easily Tetrisphere. I played it with my dad when it released, and the puzzle mode specifically was incredible. Jeff, I think I want Wet Tricks more than I want Tetrisphere. Which weird Tetris spinoff do you prefer?
Yeah, isn't there yet another one on the N64?
Sure, there is.
I think
Blast Tricks?
Blast. That sounds familiar. I think that Wet Tricks is actually. I think I've tried it and had a really bad time with it. So I think Tetrisphere actually would be the one I would choose. But you know what? Neither of them are very good, actually. In reality.
Diogo says, Diogo RP says, many Nintendo 64 gems can squeeze their way into the NSO. So I'd go for a not so usual choice, Mischief Makers. This game came right at a time when 2D side scores were losing popularity or just not very interesting with all the 3D counterparts. But Mischief Makers has a really great personality, boss battles, and is made by Treasure. I would love to shake with Marina yet again, but as long as those Joy-Con straps stay on. Oh man, no, it should have Joy-Con support. Oh yeah, shake, that'd be good. Edmund Goldie says, I want the ability to buy a Nintendo 64 controller because this is the beginning of a bad trend where Nintendo games aren't as good without the controllers. Thanks to Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii, and Wii U. Excuse me for the hiccups. Anderson 64 says Mario Party 3 has not been re-released anywhere since it was released, and I refuse to do crimes to play it. Well, then you'll suffer, and you'll be Mario Party 3 list.
Come join us.
Yeah, Run Robo Joe says, gotta be the Goemon games, right? Goemon 64 or Goemon's Great Adventure were great fun, and this would be a cool way to get those games back out in some way. I would like to try them again and probably have a guide and figure out what I'm supposed to do. Razzle Jazzle, it says, Doshin the Giant launched a Nintendo 64 DD in Japan before getting an upgraded version on GameCube. Europe at least got the GameCube version, but here in North America, we've never had an official release of this game. It'd be great to get an official release of this on this continent, and having a Nintendo 64 DD game on NSO would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool.
You know, I think it would do a lot to heal me personally, Mike, because I don't know if I've ever actually recovered from the 64 DD never coming out. I was so excited for it.
The magazines talked about that game, and I remember the original Animal Crossing also back before it got just ported to GameCube also. Yeah, we heard about those games constantly. I think they all just assumed we would get them eventually, so they were like talking about them, and then they just never came.
Yeah, we had the 64 DD. I mean, for people who are, it's like basically like a 32X for the Nintendo 64. You plug in the bottom, and it had these giant like disc cartridges things, but they were rewritable discs. And I remember the technology being pitched in magazines was like, in a game, you could have an item and you could leave it in the world and you could drop it and you could go do an entire quest and you could come back and that thing would still be on the ground. And it's like, by the next generation, that sort of thing was almost just baked in because the Xbox had a hard drive or whatever. But it was like, oh, this is amazing. I'm looking at like the list. SimCity 64 was a 64 DD game in Japan. I might actually try to just play this and see if it's and because it looks so interesting. It looks like an N64 version of the Super Nintendo game. So I'm actually going to just play that.
Nintendo Bro says, I will stand Rocket Robot on Wheels for the rest of my life. I would love to see Sony and Nintendo work together to get this game on NSO. It was one of the great quirky 3D platformers. It's a shame it's only legally playable on the Nintendo 64. So this is Sucker Punches, like
this is the one I get mixed up with Space Station Silicon Valley, actually.
Interesting. Now Ubisoft published games, so I wonder if Ubisoft is actually who has the rights to this, and maybe not Sucker Punch, and by association now Sony. I'd be shocked if Sony had any rights to Rocket Robot on Wheels. Nick Turbo said, I second Rocket Robot on Wheels. It is Sucker Punch's first game. Their only non-PlayStation game. That's their only non-PlayStation game. That's interesting. Then Lostian says, I would love to see Clay Fighter, the Sculptor's Cut, come to NSO. Now, is this is the Sculptor's Cut the one that was exclusive to Blockbuster then?
Yes, I think so.
That must be.
Yeah, I was just, because it's right here at the top of this thing. Yes, that is right.
The Duke, it says, Snowboard Kids 1+2 are like Clay Fighter in that they are a collector's nightmare. They are great arcade racers and snowboards, and a cool villain called Damien. Jeff, do you like the Snowboard Kids games? I know you love 1080 so much.
No, I don't. They're not as good as 1080, and that's their big problem.
Oh, there you go. Napper says Vigilante 8 would be cool. It would be something. I played that game on Dreamcast also, and even then, I was like real haughty about it being a Twisted Metal.
I know, but back then it was so important that Nintendo 64 get a Twisted Metal competitor, and like Vigilante 8, this is gonna be it. And It's so funny now because like I can't imagine anything mattering less than having something that competes with Twisted Metal.
You're right. But I tell you what,
Yeah.
at the time, we had a whole video game series because of that. There's 2 Vigilantes.
Yep.
War Rizzle says, I have to choose Space Station Silicon Valley. Interesting to see the similarities between this game and their next game, GTA. Believe they use similar code from jumping between animal bodies and getting into cars. That makes sense. All right, everybody. That's a lot of good answers there.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Jeff, next week, we're going to ask everybody, what is the one console that you want added to NSO the most that's not on there already?
Yeah, that sounds good. Real quick, other N64 Blockbuster exclusives. Transformers, Beast Wars, Transmetals. That was a limited exclusive.
The Beast has done that, so I've actually seen a complete playthrough of that game. If you
what was that like?
It's a fighting game.
Okay. Of course it is. NFL Blitz Special Edition. They had a lot of special editions of games. This one had like the Blockbuster exclusive like label on its front. Razor Freestyle Scooter. So like a Tony Hawk game, but for Razor scooters.
Too. Yeah, I saw
people
that.
like that game.
Yeah, he said it was fine. Actually, it wasn't bad. It's just it's a decent Tony Hawk knockoff.
Track and Field 2000. And then Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine and Daikatana, and then we get into other systems. Eggs of Steel for PlayStation was a Blockbuster exclusive from Atlas.
Jeff, do you want to read the rest of these super chats we got in while we're doing
I
this?
do, and I'm going to click right over to the Stream Elements right now to get to it. So let's see here from Jared Helder. When do you abandon a game you are interested in? I don't know. It's different for each game. It just depends on a multitude of factors.
This happens.
Yeah.
A lot of times, if it happens when I kind of don't want it to, it's because I went on vacation halfway through my playthrough, and then I'm just like not. It's just weird to get back to it.
Yes, that's a good example.
I rarely ever plan like, all right, I'm turning this game off and I'm never playing it again. It just sort of happens. Like some new game comes out or something happens, and just I'm done with it.
Let's see. Oh, Uriel Delgado had an answer to our question. I want that I want that Hot Wheels 64 game. I was gonna say that Hot Wheels 64 game. No, Hot Wheels.
It's hot, yeah.
Yeah. I remember people liking that game. Let's see. Achievement says that Nick from Xbox Era is gonna kill me because he's a Mega Drive diehard. Yeah, but then he also says Sega because he's from Australia or whatever. So that doesn't.
Disgusting.
That's barely a human being at that point.
That poll, we can maybe end it. It looks like Genesis is stuck at 60%. At one point, it was a little lower. It's stabilized.
It was a little higher at some points too. So I think 60 is probably a good average there. And then I think, from Colin, how much longer do I have to wait for clear-colored shells to be in again? I want an official clear green Series X. That does feel like we are right about there, right?
I think we're either within 10 years of it happening, or it's going to be something like puke green shaggy carpets where it never comes back.
Yeah,
it's one of those.
I feel like the iMac design specifically will have its day again, and then we'll get all the stuff that was sort of inspired by that as well.
There was a Columbo episode I was watching last week, and a lot of the fun of watching Columbo is just like this weird. It's this incredible snapshot of the 70s,
yes,
right? And the interior, there's just the shaggiest, most puke green colored carpet in the world. It was incredible, and of course, it was actually like I pointed out, I was laughing at it. Then it became important to the plot because somebody lost like a contact in it, and it would tie them to a murder, so you had to like comb through it. That was great.
Turbo Sean helping out in chat says Nick doesn't say Sega because he's Australian. He says it because he's wrong. MVG, who is also Australian, is proof of that, and he does say Sega. So thank God for MVG.
Like the Mario.
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, if you're from New York and like all your friends are named Mario, I give you a pass.
All right.
I think we're all caught up in super chats though, Mike.
Yeah, have you been playing anything interesting on your Nintendo consoles?
I went back to Kirby. I've got my stride with that. That game is still very good, but I've talked about that a lot. I started that Arise game, that one that came out like last week or something like that. I barely started it, and then I was thinking maybe I want to stream it, and I was going to do that last night, but then my kid was kind of like, I should have known she was sick. She was acting a little bit weird last night. So I was kind of taking care of her, and I didn't get a chance to stream it, but I still might want to just play that on stream. So I'm considering doing that. But that game seems really interesting. It's got like this vibe, this cool 3D environment that you're moving through with all this like beautiful grass. I don't know. It just looks like one of those moody games. Like there's a good mood there. So I'm like, I kind of think I might want to play that online with people. And if I can't do that soon, then I'm just going to play through it immediately. But I think it's at least very interesting. It seems worthy of people's attention. But that's kind of it for me. How about you?
Yeah, I've been in a bit of a retro mood again, so playing some more NSO stuff. I did a Mario Brothers 2 playthrough just because it's been so long, and it's still very good. It was a safe state playthrough for sure. Like I wasn't like really worrying too much about it, but it was just fun to go through and see everything again.
The shortcuts in Super Mario Brothers 2 is actually really fun. But I did that so much as a kid. My like last main playthrough of that was an every level playthrough, and then getting to see Mouser and all these other things. It's like, there's so many cool stuff in this game.
And that's kind of why I was doing the save state thing. I was like letting myself rewind was because I wasn't doing the shortcuts. I wanted to just actually go through every level and play all the bosses and all that stuff. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. And then I actually started going through Star Tropics again too. Same thing. Just not taking it super seriously, doing a decent amount of save stating. Just Jazz, right? Just that's right. Just use save states. JUSS. That's my new slogan. Did
you come up with that?
Yes, I'm a genius.
Did you for real? 'Cause that should be one of our shirts, Mike. I mean,
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, just use save states. That's actually pretty good. I'll work on that.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. So, okay.
Just use save states. I like good. I'll work on that.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
I put a link for Arise into the chat for people who are asking.
I actually don't know I didn't know what game you were actually talking about either. It looks really neat.
Yeah, so that's what I compared it mostly to a Short Hike. But I'm I haven't played enough to know if things like change or if like the puzzles are like more substantial, but it seems like it's in that vein of, listen, we're going to give you a cool style. We're going to give you characters that have something going on, but we're not going to hit you over the head with story.
Like this main character.
And yeah, me too. And you're going to like get through the actual playing of the game pretty quickly. It's $10 right now. It's going to be $20 normally. So I'm kind of like, I like a short hike a ton. This seems in that vein. Mike, I'm hitting the button.
Yeah, let's get out of here. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Last in the Nintendogs. We will be back on Friday for Game Speed Decides. Maybe tomorrow for this Indie Direct. It's pretty early. We'll see.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the plan, anyhow. Anything else, Mike?
Follow me on Twitter and Twitch at Tokodo. How about you, Jeff?
I am Jeff Grubb on Twitter. I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitch. Definitely follow us both on Twitch. We've been streaming a lot more recently.
Yes.
I'll probably be up and doing this Nintendo Indie World Showcase. I like them. I want to see what they're going to do. And we're going to be working it anyhow. We usually get pretty good, traffic from these sorts of things. So we'll be covering it.
Oh, we're doing Rift Tracks tonight, Jeff?
Oh, yes. Why not? I didn't know if we are, but yes, why not?
I haven't played it yet. I want to play.
Oh, yeah. Let's play tonight. Okay, yes. We'll be playing Rift Tracks tonight. Probably both on twitch.tv/JeffGrubb and Mike Minaya or Tokodo. Tokodo. Bye, everybody.
Tokodo. Bye.
Stop the show. Mark Zuckerberg, Meta CEO, says NFTs are coming to Instagram. What a fucking loser.
What a fucking loser. Holy shit.